What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets'd podcast. Just wrapped up the first series coming out of the break against the Miami Marlins. It was one of the series of all time. That is for sure. So we're going to talk about that. We've got trade deadline, a big, dense trade deadline preview coming in at the end of this episode, along with just talking about Jeff McNeil, Pete Alonso, the pitching, Edwin Diaz. A ton of stuff has been going on since we last spoke to you. We want to catch up and do it. So let's go ahead and do that. If you guys are enjoying the show and you like what we're doing over here, make sure you follow us on our social media at Mets'd on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. If you want to see the video version of this, go subscribe to the Mets'd podcast YouTube channel. You can go watch our pretty faces over there talk. And if you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. Remember, if you drop us a review and it's good, we will read it out on the podcast towards the end. So if you want to shout out, that's the way to do it. James. Oh, we also have a Subway Series preview with Zach from Makeshift Project. For those of you who know the TikTok and Instagram world, that's coming in at the end as well. But James, how are we doing? I haven't spoke to you in a couple hours.
Yeah, been a few hours, long time for us usually. Nice. I thought this Mets game was going to be a lot easier tonight. Wound up being not as easy as I would like to be. I was trying to just relax and cook some dinner and watch it. And then I had to start sweating when my roommates were just like trying to talk in a regular conversation. I was just, wait, give me a second. I'm just staring at my fucking computer screen in the corner. But nice. Good way to end this series and not lose it. Because if we lost it, I think people would have been like flipping a shit. But the fact that we won it and we're able to feel good in the last game mostly and like get to the Subway Series, which is a split series rather than a lost series, it really calms us all down a lot.
Yeah, I was in a battle with Notre Dame in college football 25 on my UTSA dynasty. I made the college football playoffs in the first year, went into overtime as the ninth innings coming along. It was tense moments, but luckily both my UTSA Roadrunners and the New York Mets came out on top. So we're moving on to the next round, playing Texas in a rematch. Huge. It's going to be crazy. Can't wait. If you guys aren't about the college football video game that came out, I suggest go buy it on a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox. You need to. It's incredible if you like any sort of college football.
Mine's coming tomorrow. I'm super excited about it. I know you guys love when we talk about college football on the show, but talk about the Marlins because this series again, this had a chance to derail and make us like kind of all nervous and scared, and it wound up not. And I kind of hate that narrative. I was talking to you about it a lot on Saturday morning that for some reason Mets fans have this idea in their head that we aren't good against the Marlins. I understand we've had some horrible losses to them, like in our lives, and especially like in that ballpark. It seems like we've had some seasons go there to die, but since 2018. We played 109 games against the Marlins. Pretty substantial part of the season, almost where we are in this season right now. The Mets are 68-41. They kill this team. They have better than a 666 winning percentage against this Marlins team. So I hate that narrative. Just going to start the episode with that. We salvaged a series, thank God. If we would have lost, I would never have told you guys that stat, but we did salvage a series. We didn't lose it. And we've won every season series against them since 2018. So it's just we are good against the Marlins. I hate that Mets fans stick to this thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to remember the bad ones and not remember the times when you just beat them. Like, it's because that's what you're supposed to do. You're going to remember the things that are not the norm, and not the norm is actually losing to this team, despite what everybody on Twitter and even in the media likes to say about how the Mets play the Marlins. Yeah, 68-41, pretty good. Keep moving it along here against them this series. It was frustrating, though, because coming into this series, I mean, the Mets needed to at least split. Really wanted 3 out of 4. Again, this Marlins team, they play horrible baseball. Skip Schumacher, I don't think is a bad manager, but I do feel like he's kind of phoned it in a little bit because it seems like he's just not going to come back at the end of the season on his own accord, not because of the Marlins by any chance. But they play sloppy baseball. They take terrible at-bats, and yet somehow we still played close games with them despite being a far superior team.
I mean, I'll say I'm not gonna necessarily blame Skip Schumacher for phoning it in because, like, if you see the lineups that the Marlins are throwing out,
of course,
series, like today, the Marlins had Otto Lopez hitting 5th and playing center field.
Guys,
he's neither a 5 hitter or a center fielder. Like neither, he's a 616 OPS. He's hitting 5th and playing center field. He's not a center fielder. He's a second baseman. Xavier Edwards is hitting 6th. He's actually been a good story since he came up, but he's no real kind of player. Vidal Brujan just never became anything.
Kills the Mets.
Yanni Chirinos, every single game gives up 5 runs. They leave him in for 5-6 innings just because why not? Like I understand. Like it might feel like sometimes that he's phoning it in, but what they've done to this team, even before this is before the trade deadline stuff. Like these are September lineups the Marlins are throwing out in the middle of July. Like it's going to be ugly the next month and a half for this team. So feel for any Marlins fans out there. I'm not gonna say I feel for Skip Schumacher.
I don't feel for them at all.
Yeah,
they've won 2 World Series. Fuck them.
Yeah, I guess fuck them. But like, it just sucks that like I don't know. You win we go to the playoffs last year, and then now next year you have no chance to do anything.
Doesn't suck. Fuck them. Fuck the Marlins fans. I feel nothing but wanting to kill that franchise every single time we play them. Oh no, we've won 2 World Series in 25 years. Oh, I'd kill to win one World Series. They could go fuck themselves. Any
Man.
Marlins fans that are out there.
I mean, let's think. Since 2003, who has more World Series than the Marlins? Just the Red Sox, the Cardinals,
Astros are tied.
Astros, of course. No, Astros have 2.
Since 2003, they only have 1. So
I get, including 2003. Oh yeah, I forgot that was 98.
Yeah, they won in the 90s. Yeah,
fucking idiot. Yeah, dumb. But yeah, I guess you're right. But it's just crazy to see a lineup like this in the middle of July for a team that was in the playoffs last year. It's
sure.
It's a little bit embarrassing. But
we also knew that team was terrible and somehow made the playoffs by sheer luck.
Yeah, luck. I mean, also just because Rob Manfred just bastardizing the game we love. But this was a really, really frustrating series, especially until Monday, because the Mets refused to get any hits in clutch situations, and it is something that just will always oscillate a lot in a team because you get a hit runner in scoring position. A lot of it just comes down to luck at the end of the day. The old guys, Keith, will never let you know that, but it's what it comes down to. But once a lot of bad luck consistently, you feel like it's a thing. Friday, we were 1 for 7 runners in scoring position. Saturday, we were 0 for 7 runners in scoring position. Sunday, we were 1 for 8 runners in scoring position. That's egregiously bad. That's 2 for 22 in 3 days.
Yeah, that's tough. And I mean, part of the reason was that like Lindor and Nimmo were getting on. Nimmo's been a little bit cold coming out of the break, although he got I think a couple hits in game 4. And Lindor's been incredible. But those guys were getting on base, and JD Martinez was struggling, and Pete particularly couldn't do anything the first 3 games. I mean, Pete's going through it. We've been saying this now for I feel like 2 or 3 episodes. But truthfully, this is probably the time that it seems like Pete's been going through it the most. Jeremy Barnes even made a comment that he's pressing unbelievably hard. And you can see it with every single thing that Pete does. He made that horrendous throw on that ground ball to him on Sunday where you're like, dude, like what is going on? Like just wake up, like take a deep breath, play some baseball. You're a great baseball player. Act like it. And he's really become like mentally one of the weaker players that I've seen in a long time, which really sucks. And even more of a reason why this dude desperately needs a standing ovation when they come back to Citi Field on Thursday. But man, everything is broken with this guy somehow at the same time.
Got a lot of stats on Pete on what necessarily has gone wrong this year. And it's not even necessarily what's gone wrong, because I think it's just a lot of, again, his mentality and his approach, and maybe a lot of it does come down to pressing. It seems like that. And the fact that hitting coach said that, or at least all believe, is definitely something that's true. But SNY flashed a stat today that Pete is just doing a lot less damage, specifically on breaking balls. He used to hammer sliders. This year, he's miserable against sliders. I think he has a -7 run value against them, which is atrociously bad. And then I got deeper into a little bit more. Something we talked about when the Mets were playing their worst in May is that the team was not aggressive enough in the heart of the strike zone. The team was letting a couple too many strikes go by. And I think Lindor, Nimmo, JD Martinez, Alvarez, Vientos, I think a lot of players have gotten a lot better at that, while Pete has still been kind of stuck in that same shitty malaise where he doesn't have, I don't think he goes up to the plate with the best plan anymore.
I don't think he has a plan.
I just think that his plan is put my bat on the ball and see what happens. And then he's just making a lot more contact, but it's a lot worse contact over time. We were talking about the other day, like his on-base percentage and slugging percentage right now are around players you would never expect his on-base percentage and slugging percentage to be around. Like he has the same on-base percentage as Randy Arozarena, who basically wasn't playing baseball for 2 months. He was that bad. Today, Francisco Lindor passed everyone in the Mets for OPS. He's the highest on the team now, 799, which is even remarkable to think about how he put a season like that behind. But Pete is just not – he's not as aggressive on pitches in the heart of the zone. He's swinging more on pitches on the edges. He's making more contact with those pitches on the edges, and that contact winds up being worse contact. His batting average is up 20 points from last year. His on-base percentage hasn't moved. It's within 3 percentage points where it was last year. And slugging percentage is down over 60 points. So he is making more contact, which might have been something that he wanted to do. That's something Keith always said he wanted Pete to do. Like, if you can get to a 270, you could be a great ball player. But now what's actually happened is that Pete Alonso is worse. And a big part of that, again, I want to go back to the stat that SNY flashed about Pete, his OPS dropping a lot against breaking balls. A big reason his OPS used to be so high against breaking balls is he used to swing and miss against them a lot more. He was whiffing a lot more in secondary pitches, especially breaking balls, over the last few years. This year, he's not whiffing against them nearly as much. That's because he's putting less of his power swing on it. He's making more contact. The contact is going in the field of play. He's not swinging and missing, but it's not doing any damage. And Pete Alonso's job should be damage. He has to do damage. Pete Alonso's goal shouldn't be contact. He should never let a hittable pitch go by.
No, never.
And this is per Baseball Prospectus Robert Orr. I talk about the Seager metric a lot. He has a really cool dashboard for all the Seager metric stats. This year, Pete's in the 38th percentile of all hitters in hittable pitches taken, So that means 60% of players in the league are swinging at more hittable pitches than Pete. The last 3 years, he was in the 76th percentile, 2022, 91st percentile, and last year, 70th percentile. So one of the better players in assessing when a pitch is hittable and swinging at it. And with that, his Seager's drop, that's being selective in the wrong places. And again, the damage has dropped on Pete. He's making worse contact, hitting the ball less hard. It's a bad approach for Pete Alonso right now, and something has to change for him to get better.
Yeah, I mean, this is the butting of the heads. I haven't talked about batting average on the podcast in weeks, so we're just going to do a little bit of a batting average talk here. But like for all the batting average people out there, look at Pete Alonso this year and last year. Like you said,
his batting average still sucks. So
it still sucks.
They're not wrong yet.
But the batting average is better. It's 20 points better, you said, than it was last year. Yet his slugging percentage is 60 points lower. Do you guys even understand how unfathomably hard that is to do for a guy like Pete Alonso to drop 60 points while getting more hits? That doesn't even make any sense when you say it out loud. And the reason is, whoever is talking to Pete has got in his head that he needs to be a 270, 260, 250, whatever it is hitter, rather than hit home runs. Pete is not taking good cuts at the plate. The approach is absolutely, it's abhorrent how bad his approach is at the plate. I actually don't know if he has one. It seems like he goes up to the plate and he's not thinking. It seems, or maybe he's thinking too much, and that's why he's swinging at these sliders. I remember a couple years ago when Adam Frazier got traded at the deadline to the Padres. The Padres were being applauded for getting a guy like Adam Frazier because he puts the ball in play. He's exactly what that team needed. No, he wasn't. Who fucking cares? He stinks. But at the end of the day, remember, a lot of people were talking about how good is it Z contact with pitches outside of the zone? Is that Z contact?
It's Z contact zone. Pitches in the zone. O contact is outside the zone.
Okay, O contact. So his O contact was so good that he makes contact with pitches outside of the zone and puts them in play so much. That's why he doesn't strike out. That's kind of what Pete Alonso is doing. I don't want him to make contact with bad pitches. I want him smashing the good pitches. And like you said, that Seager stat telling you that he's not attacking the pitches that are good hit pitches to hit. And then he's making contact more with the slider out of the zone, which conceptually, I think to people would be like, that's good. He's swinging and missing less. But if you're not doing any damage, it's probably worse than swinging and missing.
You'd almost rather. That's why I love these run value statistics that Baseball Savant has for where pitches are in the zone, because they'll give you credit if you let not good hittable pitches go by. Like, it'll help your run value against those pitches. Like, if you let a pitch that's on the corner go past you, they're like, okay, that's good, because if you make contact with that pitch, the best you're doing is a single, which you're probably doing is grounding at the second baseman. So that's a good thing you're going to do it. But then, again, it all comes out to another stat I just love, ISO, isolated power. So It takes your slugging percentage and it takes out singles. So it takes like the batting average as slugging percentage. And Pete Alonso's right now is around guys like Michael Massey, who has 8 home runs. Jarren Duran, who's 12 home runs. Lawrence Butler, who's only been playing for a couple days now, 9 home runs. Reese Hoskins, who's having objectively a bad year. Colton Cowser. Joe Adele, a lot of
slender athletic players, not power hitting first baseman.
Totally, but also guys like Cal Raleigh, who just never hit singles. A guy like Willie Abreu, Travis d'Arnaud, and Pete have the exact same isolated slugging right now. So it's just, and Pete has significantly more home runs than every guy in this range. Scrolling the list right now in a rough scroll, I don't see one player. There's one player behind who has at least as many home runs as Pete Alonso and a lower isolated slugging than him. It's Kyle Schwarber. A guy who's anti-single, but he just doesn't put really the ball in play. It's just a lot of home runs. So it's just what he's doing right now is bizarre when you think about his skill set. Yes. And it seems like that there might be something that is not clicking, not getting through to him, or maybe there's people giving him bad information.
This is something that we've spoke about with Brett Beatty before, where it's like, it seems like his approach is put the ball in play and the power will come. It seems like Pete's having that approach right now, where he's like, as long as I put the ball in play, I'll run into some home runs. Nah, dude, go up there trying to hit home runs. He's going back to being Peter Alonso. We're almost there again. But Pete, I can't do that to him. We got to be positive for this guy right now.
Also, think about the shape of the series, where the Mets couldn't get a big hit the whole series running scoring position. Pete himself left 4 guys scoring position himself on Sunday. 4 guys scoring position. And he hit a single in his first at-bat. Of course, nobody was available to be driven in. But then this game, you get the home runs. Like, Lindor hits the 2 home runs. Jeff hits the big home run. That's how you score the runs to win this game. It's just this Mets team, we're built on offense. We're predicated on run scoring. This is an offensive-driven team. We need to hit home runs to win. We just do. That's the team that David Stearns has built. That's the reality we live in right now. And if Pete's not hitting home runs, we need everyone else to allow more home runs. He's supposed to hit the most home runs. Yes. And right now, he has 1 more than Francisco Lindor and like 3 more than Nimmo. So it's like something has to give you. We've said it before. A Pete Alonso hot streak is the Mets difference maker in the second half. If he goes on one of his white-hot August streaks, like we've seen him do time and time again, then that's it. We're good. I'm very confident in saying that. Like, not even kidding. Like, if he hits if he doubles his home run count from right now, if he winds up with 38 home runs in the last
He has a
third of the season,
double-digit home run month in August.
yeah, if he hits at least 17 from this point on the rest of the year, I'll be very confident in our chances. But that has to happen. He hasn't really done anything that makes me think it will. Like, it just has to click. Like, he has to go full meathead again. I don't know if it will.
Which is why the standing ovation. It's gotta happen.
Yes, Thursday night.
I hate to be so annoying, but we gotta give it to him on Thursday night. Gotta get behind this dude. Mets fans have turned on him. I know we just went on a little 10-minute rant about how terrible he's been, but that's because podcasts. We know. I pray to God Pete Alonso isn't listening to this podcast. That would be the worst news I could ever find out is this guy's listening. But if he is, and if you are a Mets fan and you are at the game on Thursday, just do it. It's so easy. It's so easy. It fucking works. I don't know why it works, but it has. Give it a shot with the big fella.
I mean, look what we've done for Francisco Lindor since it happened. He's been legitimately one of the best players in baseball. And we hammer this like every other episode. We can't really not. Like, the guy, Mark and I had a huge argument before because they're just texting. And I was like, there's a part of me that thinks Francisco Lindor is playing the best baseball of his career right now, and it's all because like all the bullshit stats I like. I'm like his WRC plus is the same it was in 2018 when they're playing with a bullshit baseball, and he has extra base hits, but everyone had like extra base hits, so it didn't really mean as much. And defense is still really good, and he's at the top of the order. He's kind of driving the force. He's a full time leader in this team. I don't know, but the things I just for love Francisco Lindor, we got to appreciate him while he's on this team because he's not going to be on this team forever.
Well, I mean, the rest of his baseball career, he's going to be on this team.
I'm just saying, he's one of the best players that any of us are going to see in wearing a Mets uniform. Like, in our lives.
Sure, yeah.
So I'm just like,
no
there's
doubt.
people that don't like him.
There was a dude on YouTube who just released a video about Francisco Lindor. I think his name's like 30 Green Light on YouTube. You guys should check it out. And it was about the whole problem with Francisco Lindor and why people don't appreciate him. And it was a really good video. It was just about because he came up and put up those crazy counting numbers. And despite the fact that those counting numbers can't exist anymore because the game has changed, people expect him to still be a 40 home run guy a year. And that's just not possible because things have literally changed.
No, him hitting those home runs was bullshit. That baseball was insane. Like, he had 38 homers and 42 doubles, and he had a WRC plus that was barely higher than his was last year when he went 30-30. Like, it's just, the game is different. Even like since that standing ovation, of course, he has the 13th highest WRC plus in baseball. He has
Which is crazy high, by the way. 13th highest is so high.
And the 13th most homers in baseball.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
That's like it's all really good. He's fucking super good. Let's check WAR. I want to check WAR.
Check WAR.
It's the 5th highest.
Okay. Behind who?
No one in the National League.
Okay.
So Aaron Judge, Gunnar Henderson, Bobby Wood Jr., Juan Soto.
Oh, so MVP candidates. Got it.
Yeah. So based on WAR since the standing ovation, he probably should be an MVP candidate.
Yeah.
But
no, definitely.
I digress. He's really good. We have to appreciate him while he's here.
Yes. Speaking of which, really good. Jeff McNeil had a really good series. Francisco Lindor after the game said that Jeff McNeil's having fun. He likes when Jeff's having fun. Well, he enjoys when McNeil is happy. He's glad to see it. And you know what? I am too, because Jeff McNeil had been pressing maybe as hard as Pete Alonso, if not harder, all year. Something that he got down in Miami. I know that's where the guys stay down there during spring training, so maybe he got to go back to his Florida home, maybe play a little golf. I don't know what it was. But he crushed baseballs this series. He hit 3 home runs. What did Jeff have? 2 home runs coming into the series?
I think 5.
On the season, he had 5?
I think he had 5.
No.
I'm almost positive. I think 2 of them were in Ohio.
Oh, yeah, he did hit a couple at Citi Field. I was thinking of only on the road. But regardless, played incredible. And he was phenomenal in the field. He robbed Brian De La Cruz of that home run in Game 1.
He almost botched the game on Monday, not covering second base.
For sure, almost botched it. But it doesn't matter. We won now, so it's positive. It's all good. Can't worry about that. He made a great throw to throw out Vidal Brujan on the triple, on the relay throw, and then he just made a couple other really good plays in the outfield as well. If that Jeff McNeil is back, this team has a chance to even be more scary.
Craziest stat I have about Jeff McNeil, he had the multi-home run game on Friday. Jeff McNeil's last multi-home run game in his Major League Baseball career came in September of 2019.
So long ago.
That's a lifetime ago. I can't even think about what my life was like in September of 2019. September 2019. Justin Fields hadn't even played a game for Ohio State yet in September 2019. Think about how long ago that is.
Yeah, I just graduated college. That is like pretty much when I figured out I could do YouTube full time, like right around that moment.
Pretty cool.
I think I went to Pittsburgh for the month of September because I think the Mets played in Pittsburgh. Robinson Cano got hurt during that series. I think Jeff even got hurt a little bit in that game in Pittsburgh. Edwin Diaz gave me a ball, gave it to a kid. That was nice. Pat myself on the back there. No Zach Campbell, who's getting dragged through the mud today as he should. But, yeah, I mean, McNeil swinging the bat like he did is just, it really does help this lineup out so much because Harrison Bader had been struggling. He had been a little bit cold this series. Jose Iglesias is still just out of control.
The best.
I mean, he's ridiculous. This guy's unbelievable. Can't slow him down. But to add that when the other guys maybe aren't clicking like they have been, it's what makes this lineup deeper. It makes it full. I love seeing Jeff McNeil play every day because when he is, that means he's playing good.
And there's another big part about Jeff McNeil. A lot of people turned on him, and like rightfully so, because he was one of the worst players in the first half in all of professional baseball. We are stuck with him. He's not going anywhere.
And there's really no incentive to get rid of him either.
Jeff McNeil's contract extension hasn't even started yet. It starts this offseason. This would have been his last year on the team. We didn't sign him to that extension after 2022, this would be like, all right, see you later, Jeff. You want to take $1 million? You could come back.
If him and Pete Alonso were hitting free agency the same year, be terrible.
Oh no! Oh my God! Someone stop it! Stop the madness! But it's just that it's whatever it is, we're stuck with him. It probably makes too much money for what he is at this point in his career, but there might still be a player that's slightly above league average with the bat who can play a couple defensive positions pretty well. Like it's just, again, preach positivity. And now he's hitting well. Like it would be great if Jeff McNeil could just be old Jeff McNeil for a month and keep carrying this team when guys who have been hot understandably become cold.
Especially because he's great in the outfield. And as we know, as soon as Starling Marte stepped off this field, the Mets got elite defensively.
Dude, I was thinking about that today because I had a tweet from June 12th, which was 10 days before Marte got injured, about how bad the Mets were in baseball. And they were one of the worst teams outside of average, defensive run saved, fielding run value, Fangraphs defensive rating, literally everything. And since all that happened, the Mets are a positive team in almost every single one of those metrics.
It's awesome.
Since Starling Marte got hurt. That's something that, and that also coincides with Iglesias playing a lot more. He's a really good defensive player. Like that's part of it as well. But that's definitely not an accident. Like no. Starling Marte is like one of the worst defensive players in baseball this year by every single metric. And the fact that they have been a positive value defensive team afterwards, something they were built to be and supposed to be. That's a trademark of the David Stearns teams. And Keith was talking about it a lot on Monday. He was like, you can really feel how much better this team is defensively. He said it was after the Harrison Bader diving catch. He was
great catch, by the way.
Amazing. He plays such a fucking beautiful, silky, smooth center field. I love that guy. But he's like, this is the best Mets best defensive team I remember in a while. And I completely agree with him. It is. We're going on. This is a full month now.
Since like 2022, basically.
Yeah, more or less. But I don't even think that team was great defensively.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we didn't really have like a third baseman. Eduardo Escobar was playing over there, but yeah, I mean,
and Nimmo's acceptable center fielder, but Harrison Bader puts him to shame. And like,
yeah, of course,
yeah. And when we run out the outfield of Nimmo, Bader, and either Tyrone Taylor or Jeff McNeil, this suddenly becomes one of the better defensive outfielders in baseball, truthfully speaking.
Definitely.
And this again, since we're going on a little bit over a month now, the team is positive all around defensively. We got some different players in here. One player not playing, but that's been a really big deal for helping this team sustain the hot streak. And now just be good without any of the gimmicks and any of the bullshit. Just be a solid team.
Definitely. Now, one thing I do want to talk about that, a little bit of cause for concern. As much concern as you can have 10 starts into someone's major league career. We got to talk about Christian Scott. It's not as good as advertised, which I don't think is the end of the world. I don't think this is the ring the alarms. We've been bamboozled. We've been led astray. But Christian Scott is not that guy we need him to be yet. No. I think it's a big yet because we've now seen, I think it is 9 major league starts from Christian Scott. Maybe that was his 10th. I'm not sure. His numbers are completely fine. They're very mid. He hasn't really taken a step up from what we've seen. And granted, he did come out hot. He pitched incredible against the Rays, pitched incredible against the Braves in those first couple starts. But since then, it has been a little bit shaky. And the thing that scares me the most with Christian Scott is the fact that the velo and just the sharpness of everything doesn't really seem to be there. And for a guy who we said the biggest concern with what we thought was going to be was the fact that he threw too many strikes, but he had the stuff maybe that would allow it to work. Now with the stuff taking a little bit of a step back, those too many strikes things do become a huge problem.
I'll push back on the stuff thing because all the stuff models still say it's all basically the same for Scott. There isn't that much of a change.
That's the thing.
Yeah, and it is a little to go for that, but I still think I don't know. I've had this hypothesis for a few weeks now. I've been telling you and I've been telling you guys listening for the whole time that I think that he is taking something off purely for the reason because he wants to be able to place the ball better, especially against lefties. Because the real problem with Christian Scott, when it comes down to it, I tweeted about it today. I talked about it a lot. He cannot get left-handed batters out. He can't do it. I dropped a tweet today that the stats are alarming. So lefties are slashing 333, 375, 567 against him, while righties are slashing 167, 232, 300. So those differences right there and those OPSs, that's like the difference between facing Bobby Witt Jr. and Andrew Benintendi. So it's like every single lefty that comes to the plate is Bobby Witt Jr. against Christian Scott, and every righty is Andrew Benintendi. That's how big the chasm is right now of how effective he is against the hitters from each side of the plate. And the big reason for this, and it's horrible that it happened and lost the Mets a game, but it was so clear in the Jazz Chisholm bat, is because Scott just doesn't have enough weapons right now that he can rely on to get lefties out. And that it's something that can change and it can get better, and something we thought was going to be okay coming in, but it's really reared its ugly head. And that bat, I think, was specifically really good to illustrate this, because this was Jazz's second or third at bat of the game. I can't remember exactly, but it was a long at bat. He ran the count full, Jazz. And Jazz is a good hitter. People do not respect Jazz Chisholm the way they should. He is a very good baseball player.
Yeah, I think baseball people do. I think the public doesn't, because the public sees like him as being flashy and like probably like loud and arrogant and whatever it is, when he's not like one of the best players in baseball. But I think the baseball knowers know that he's a good ball player for sure.
Totally. And also, I just got a quick stat on the velocity thing. So that first start against the Rays, the velocity was crazy, which I'm sure was just adrenaline for the first start, over 95. Every other start since then, it's been between 94.3 and 93.6. So the fastball velocity is basically exactly the same the whole way through. But that about against Jazz, it was clear that Christian Scott was kind of just working one method the whole time. It was his up and in fastball and his low and in gyro slider. And it was over and over again. He was mixing, matching, going back, and he missed with a fastball, and then he missed with a slider, and Jazz fouled off a slider, and he missed with another fastball. I think he got a call-striking fastball in there too. But at that point, when the sixth pitch of the at-bat came, there had already been 3 fastballs and 3 sliders and 2 fastballs. And it just seemed like Jazz was just sitting on that slider and waiting for it. And we talked about this with Lance Brazowski, and we talked about the video he made, especially with pitch decay. A pitch will no longer be as effective against a hitter once the hitter has a really good idea of the pitch that's coming. And you get that good idea the more pitches you see in this individual at bat. So the fact that Jazz, again, smart, good baseball player, was able to triangulate, I'm going to get this pitch in this exact spot. He's going to turn on it because he's a good baseball player. And the pitch, that's the other part about Scott. That pitch wasn't bad and wasn't in a bad spot. It was a slider that was about knee high, an inch inside. If a hitter didn't know that was coming, that could make them look ugly, swing out of their shoes. You get a sword on pitching ninja for that. But the fact that he had already seen that pitch 3 times in the at-bat, he knew Scott was scared to go fastball with him. You guys remember the Jazz home run against Jacob deGrom in 2021? Up fastball, he turned around in Citi Field. That was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen a baseball player do in real life. Jazz knew that pitch was coming, and he swung out of his shoes on it, and he hit a home run, he pimped it, and the Marlins win the game because of it. And again, it's endemic to where Scott is right now as a pitcher, and it's not something that's going to damn him for a career. It's just something that right now, he doesn't have a useful third weapon against lefties, so they can sit on those 2 things. And the fastball command is good but not great, so he can't really pinpoint a fastball. So it's just you have to just wait until you get one of the sliders you could hit. Sometimes he'll hang one, or sometimes you're just like Jazz and you're ready for it, you know where it's going to be, and you can send it somewhere.
Yeah, and again, I think all of us need to. I've talked to some Mets fans who are like, I'm out on Christian Scott.
That's not how baseball works.
That's not how this works, guys. Again, I'm not even going to compare him to guys on the New York Mets that have taken some time in the pitching side to improve upon their game, because that would be insane. But even look at previous David Stearns teams. Brandon Woodruff and Corbin Burns came up, and those guys were not particularly great their first time. Corbin Burns went to the bullpen for a good chunk because they could not figure it out.
So
and one of the reasons why Corbin Burns could not get lefties out. He struggled mightily getting lefties out. He got that nasty changeup. He got the cutter, started work on that stuff. That's where he was able to take that jump to the next level. I'm not comparing Christian Scott to Corbin Burns as a future Cy Young Award winner type thing. But the idea is that this growth is not necessarily linear. We've talked about this before. Christian Scott flew through the minor leagues. He deserved to get to the major league level. He had shown that he is good enough at every single level to be here. Now it's about pushing through whatever this theoretical like glass ceiling that he's running into right now is and getting better. And that's where Jeremy Hefner and hopefully the pitching lab can help him out here, because like you said, there is a clear and obvious issue. He can't get left-handed hitters out. If he can fix that, that's where you're going to start to see Christian Scott take these steps forward and become that pitcher that me and James have been hyping up for the last year and a half. But right now at the young age and the relatively young career of him as a starting pitcher, he just doesn't have that yet. But it doesn't mean it won't come. So I beg Mets fans, please give this guy some time before you say you're done with him. It's been 40, 50 innings.
and the worst part is too that we saw at first it was like holy shit. Like those two first starts, Rays and Braves, you felt like, oh, he's hitting the ground running, he's going. And then it kind of got slow after that. And then when he got sent down, since he came back, that's really been where these problems began. Yes. He's not striking out as many guys. He's walking a few more batters. And he just always seems to get to like a certain point in the start, and the hitters start to kind of really have a good idea for what's coming. And again, that's because he's realistically right now just a 2-pitch pitcher against each side of the plate.
Yeah.
And it works against the righties because those 2 pitches are amazing. His fastball still has a lot of life, and his sweeper is filthy and disgusting. I can't even believe that he got through the minors as well as he did at the beginning before he developed his sweeper. Yeah. The fact that he didn't even have this pitch, that's just a testament to how much life that fastball has. In this start, a righty didn't even have a hard hit ball against him.
Yeah.
Like
he does things well.
It was a few smattered around singles, and that was it. So it becomes whether or not he can figure out this split change thing. It keeps just drifting outside of him and floating, and it's not really a competitive pitch. Maybe he finds a cutter that moves in between the fastball and this gyro slider. The gyro slider is cutter-ish already. It's a very hard pitch, doesn't move very much, but maybe there's something else there. Maybe I know he's like, I don't know if he can get a curveball because of how fucking like twisty he gets with his arm. I think that's called pronation for the real pitching people out there, but I don't know if he can actually get a curve off that. But if he can find a curve that even a power curve that maybe only drops like, I don't know, a handful of inches, but it still goes up and down to get a lefty out. Like there's ways for Christian Scott to get out of this. I'm not a pitch design guy. I don't know how to develop them, but it's just and he has this splitter that he has. He says he has, but he just can't really get through to it in game yet. So there's a way here. It's like, and it if it clicks, it gets crazy. And you know what the worst thing that happened to Christian Scott this year? You just put him in the bullpen. He's probably electric.
Correct.
Like, and you need to limit his innings anyway. And the team would love. Imagine if you have a reliever who gets every righty out. Oh my God, that'd be the worst thing in the world. Who can throw 96 with a devastating sweeper? That'd be horrible.
Well, this was the thing that we talked about in the last episode, where we're building out just like what the future of this current roster could look like, and like Mets needing bullpen arms. And I think I was like, brain blast. It's just probably going to be Christian Scott. Like he's probably just going to be in the bullpen and be really good, and then we worry about him being a starter next year. Like that's probably the realistic outcome. That being said, it does change what this team is going to probably be looking to do at the deadline, knowing that Christian Scott's probably not going to be one of those guys that you can rely on to be a big game starter down the stretch.
Totally. Or again, maybe just close back and he is. Like I think
maybe he does.
I think they're going to keep giving him these chances to start. I think you also have an opportunity with someone like Budo and Hauser in the bullpen right now to be like, hey, Christian, like let's shorten this game. Let's shorten the game for you a little bit. Like we know you're not going to give us 100 pitches anyway. So instead of being 75, like we're going to save your arm for a few weeks. We want to really you to focus on these few at bats. And we know it gets worse and worse. You go through the game. 55 pitches. Tell them that. Make this the game plan. 4 innings. Jose Budo is your piggybacker, and then we can go through with this, and you can try to work through these issues because you're going to have to start this weekend against the Braves, and it's going to be a monumentally important game. This is a series where if you win 3 out of 4, you change the course of the season. Truthfully,
yes.
So it's a tightrope that, and I trust Mendoza, I trust Stearns, I trust the coaches and the staff this year to do this, to be able to walk this line with Christian Scott and be like, we want you to still be effective for us, and we need to get that out of you now, while also not forgetting about the player we want you to be in the future.
Yeah, no, I mean it's going to be interesting down the line. At least in terms of starting pitching, Severino looked fantastic when he throws that sweeper. He's just such a better pitcher. So like, just fucking throw it, please.
Yeah, I went deep in these crazy stats when I was texting you on Saturday. I did all these by hand because I wanted to get out before the game ended, before Fangraphs updated the next day. But Severino this year has thrown 10 stars where he's thrown more than 10% sweepers, and 9 stars where he's thrown fewer than 10% sweepers. The 10 stars when he starts the sweeper at least 10% of the time, 2.98 ERA, 21% strikeout rate, 11% walk rate. The 9 where he threw it less than 10% of the time, 4.23 ERA, 15% strikeout rate, 5% walk rate. So similar strikeouts and walks, but just with fewer balls in play, the other team gets fewer runs. So that's definitely a strategy Severino should keep pushing forward with.
Also, shout out to David Peterson. Just another solid start. Like just another solid start. This is exactly what he is. The Mets, I believe, have won 8 straight of his starts. They lost in the first start of the year against the Dodgers, and they have not lost a start of his since. So while he infuriates people, I know he particularly infuriates my dad. He texts me twice a start that this guy's a bum, get rid of him. But the Mets win when he pitches. So like, I don't know what to tell you, Dad. Like, he's probably just a major league pitcher in the back end of our rotation.
Yeah, that's what he is. I mean, 4 strikeouts and 4 walks is something you definitely don't ever love to see. But Peterson's done well to really expand his repertoire against especially righties, because that's, again, the opposite hand just makes it hard. He's just like, fuck it, I'll throw you a fucking sinker, I'll throw you a fastball. You want to see a changeup? Like, here you go. You're just gonna see a lot of different looks, so it's like a little hard to settle in. Marlins also suck. Again, they're horrible, but it's just he throws it at you. And then McNeil also pitched. He had probably his worst start almost of the entire season.
Yeah,
but I think
for sure.
it was a lot of dinks and doinks besides for Jake Berger. A lot of balls just squeaked through the fucking hole. So like that's baseball.
Taking the latest swings I've ever seen. They were like, it
Yeah.
almost seemed like
Oh,
they
the
were
other way.
purposely trying to be late.
Yeah, I mean that two seamer is weird. It's a really good pitch, but he just keeps the ball on the edges, so nothing really gets hit super hard. But again, Jake Berger did piss on that home run. First time McNeil allowed more than 3 earned runs since June 8th.
Wow. I mean, listen, pitchers are gonna have bad starts. I can't
That's
get on
fine.
him when he's been pretty fucking good all year.
No worries at all with that. But I think that's basically the whole series. I mean, other funny things that happened. Keith got so mad about where Jazz Chisholm was warming up the on deck circle. I agree with Keith. I had never seen someone warm up that close to behind the plate.
I got to interject. I love how you really pronounce the Jazz Chisholm every time.
Chisholm.
Chisholm. Jazz Chisholm.
Jazz Chisholm. I don't know. I guess I write it more than I say it. So Chisholm. I guess I do that. I do that. My brain to not forget how it's spelled. That's just a little bit of my stupidity. But I love that. And Keith was like insinuating he would throw at him when he came to the plate.
Oh yeah, totally.
Which is awesome.
Keith was a little annoying this series. There were times he was driving me crazy. He was really loving the umpires like a lot. Which I can't stand that shit.
I mean, think about it from Keith's perspective. He just had like a week off.
Yeah, I know. But that
he was like, I got to work again.
The game against Manaea too, he was like, the Marlins were taking bad swings. They just were getting hits because like they were hitting it where they ain't. And
like, I'm so impressed.
He was like, wow, man, these level swings. That's what it is, folks. You don't got to hit the ball in the air sometimes. I'm like, this is the worst team in baseball. You cannot be complimenting them, Keith. Please.
Him and Gary were shitting on like the concept of exit velocity in that game too, and then he was like, "You see, sometimes you really just gotta find the hole with it." And it's like, Keith, what are you doing, man?
I was like, if they were in first place by 20 games, I'd let you say all you want because you have the proof. They suck. This team's so horrible.
I think he just wishes he was watching Luis Ariz, and he's used to watching Luis Ariz. Oh, also that game on Friday night was so annoying. We had so many chances to win that game.
Oh,
Vientos, Iglesias, McNeil all had 3 hard hit balls at the bottom of the order. The Marlins just, that freaking bullpen sucks. We couldn't do it. Calvin Fauché, Tanner Scott's incredible.
Dude, did he change the way he pitches? Because I thought he was more sidearm-ish.
He did coming into the year. He was a tread guy in the offseason.
Because he looks like he's now low approach angle, and that fastball's got crazy life now, where I thought before it more so ran. At least in that game on Friday, that fastball was electric, more than I remember it in the past, because he's been pretty erratic.
His fastball's always been more vert than a horizontal movement, but this year it's more than he ever has by a lot.
Okay.
Over an inch.
Noticeable then.
A little bit. You got something there, and it's moving horizontal. But he's electric. Someone's getting him at the trade deadline. He's going to be a difference maker.
All I know is keep an eye on what prospect the Marlins get, because they will ruin him.
Yeah, but we're going to do trade line in a minute. Just 2 other quick things I want to talk about before we do the trade deadline preview and the Subway Series preview. First, Hall of Fame inductions this weekend. Always nice to see the Hall of Fame guys. Shout out Adrian Beltre, Jim Leland, Joe Mauer, Todd Helton. They massacred Joe Mauer's plaque.
Yeah, crushed it. Yeah,
he looks so ugly. And also, I just love Beltre. Beltre's one of my favorite players growing up. And like I don't think he gets the credit for how good he was. Like he's one of the best Dominican-born baseball players ever.
Oh,
like
yeah,
top 5 easy, if not top 3. Because it's Pujols since Pedro, and then Vlad, Manny, Marichal, like in any order there with David Ortiz just behind them. Like those are some fucking ball players that Beltre's on top of. And I was looking at this Beltre stuff. I was looking just the Dominican baseball player stats, which is crazy, and found one that's nuts.
Oh yeah.
Of the 5 Dominican-born baseball players with the most stolen bases in the history of baseball, 4 have been Mets. Jose Reyes, Juan Samuel, crazy. Luis Castillo, didn't agree to talk about Luis Castillo in the Mets Marlins podcast. You're wrong. And Starling Marte.
Yeah, that checks.
And then Cesar Cedeno, most stolen base ever for Dominican-born player. Shout out Cesar.
That's a name that doesn't even sound familiar to me. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, a pretty solid class for sure in the Hall of Fame. And Jim Leland, baseball lifer. Like to see an old guy like that get in there. He deserves it.
I would have loved to see him smoke a cigarette during his speech.
Oh, well, he's a cigar man. I don't know if he's a cigarette man.
He's famous for smoking cigarettes in the dugout.
It's true in the dugout, but he's a cigar man now, I'm sure, with the older age in the class.
Cigarettes on the field, cigars at home.
Yeah, exactly. Cigars are classy. Cigarettes are for the ball players. And then just some sad news to talk about here. A friend of the podcast, Omar Manaya's wife, tragically passed away. So just thoughts and prayers with the Manaya family. That's absolutely terrible, and can't even imagine what that's like. Absolutely just awful stuff.
No, we know him. Yeah, we met Omar a few times. He's just a really, really fantastic guy. But yeah, his wife Rachel, that's horrible. It's terrible.
Yeah,
so
terrible.
Hope Omar's okay.
Yep. And we will now move on to the trade deadline preview here. You guys are getting a long fucking episode.
This is such a long episode.
This is going to be like a clean hour and a half because we've got probably 15 to 20 minutes left on this trade deadline stuff to talk about with you guys. And you know what? Don't really care. It's good. You guys want to talk baseball? We've missed you. We haven't been able to talk about the Mets for real, like Mets baseball in a week. So happy to do that rather than talk about the home run derby and nonsense like that. So trade deadline. We're addressing it. We are a week away from the trade deadline, basically a week away. I think we're going to
be a week away when you listen.
Yeah, we're a week away when you listen. And we haven't really done a good job of this because we're not like every other podcast. We knew that nothing was going to happen until this point, so it was just an exercise in just how much do you want to hear yourself talk. But now that we're a week away, shit can happen. Shit will start to happen. People are going to be moving. And we're going to be dropping a full dedicated episode about the guys we want the most later on our YouTube channel. But we don't want to deprive you guys over here on the podcast of that content as well. So let's just go through it. There are a ton of players available.
So many.
And there are a ton of players that the Mets could use. That being said, not all of them are fits. Not all of them are realistic. But there's a lot of good stuff. Where do you want to start, James?
I think we should first start this with where we think the Mets should and could go to make this team as good as it can for a playoff push. Because I think that's I think it's an interesting conversation. I think if you ask 99% of Mets fans, 75% Mets fans, I just left a big range there. But if you ask most Mets fans, what does the Mets need to do with the trade deadline? It'd be bullpen. And I think you and I mean, more so me, I think that I love to be a little contrarian with this shit. Like I love the fact of like there's so many more creative ways I think to improve this team, especially when you think about the types of players available on the block right now and where the Mets need their help because the relievers available just aren't good. The ones that are game changers, I don't see the Mets going after. They're going to be too expensive. It's going to be just a lot to handle. Yeah, Tanner Scott, Mason Miller, Pete Fairbanks, Michael Kopech. Those are, I would say, the four most talented relievers on the board.
Yeah.
I can't see the Mets ponying up the prospect for any of them.
No, and especially Kopech, that would be a nightmare here. You just can't get Kopech here.
He just balked again. I think he balked in the losing run there.
Yeah,
tonight,
Mets fans would put his head on a stake. That's the last thing that guy needs. But
it'd be bad.
Okay, so then let's preface it this way: starting pitching, relief, bat. Rank those three. What is your? If you're the GM, what are you doing? What are you attacking first?
The first thing I'd want for this team, really stupidly, weirdly enough, is a bat because I think you get the cheapest and best bat because I think this Mets team
try to jump the market.
You have a gaping hole in corner outfield right now. It's a catastrophe. Every single day, the Mets have one corner outfielder playing. That stinks.
It's a catastrophe.
Like right now, you're giving up one of the 9 spots in your order just for free. It's someone who's not going to be a very good defender and not be a very good hitter. I know everyone wants Starling Marte to come back, and I think he will come back. But it's been a month, and there's no baseball activities yet. You're still, from the second he picks up a bat, you're still at least 3 weeks away from him from playing. So as of right now, you're not going to see Starling Marte play in a baseball game. Best case scenario until August 15th. Best case scenario. But there's a lot of time until August 15th. We got to play some fucking ball by then. We have to win every single game. So I see this this really nice outfielder tier of like Winker, Taylor Ward, Brian De La Cruz, Lane Thomas as a real good place for the Mets to dip their toe into. Buy a bat for not that good of a prospect, I'm sure. I bet you can get any of those guys I just named for one of these AA pitchers who's kind of popped up out of nowhere.
Except Brian De La Cruz. He is under control until 2028, so you will...
Oh, is he really? I thought he had one more year.
No, you're giving up a ton for Brian De La Cruz.
Don't want him anymore.
Okay, you should get him out.
Take him off my list. Take him off my list. I don't even care. I want rentals right now. I want rentals maybe because I'll you know what that happens next year? We're gonna buy a different corner outfielder. I don't care. These guys are free. You can get Jesse Winker for like Tyler Stewart. Truthfully, that might be an overpay.
That probably honestly could be an overpay.
It probably is an overpay. So I'm saying you're probably getting a pitcher in your system who you don't even think is a major league 3 for someone who's going to be like a 20% better than league average hitter for the rest of the season. When right now from that spot, you're getting like 20% worse than league average.
Which, let me tell you guys, by the way, there are going to be a lot of people specifically on SNY that are going to be putting out trade proposals here. I believe, what was it? Our buddy Jim Duquette threw out one where it was like the most insane for Tanner Scott. He was like, the Mets should give up Jeremy Rodriguez, Marco Vargas, and throw in another one of their top prospects, Dom Hamill. Sure. Give those 3 guys up for Tanner Scott. And it's like, whoa, pump the brakes, buddy. Pump the brakes. Listen to the guys who are currently in jobs, not Jim Duquette, who has made some of the worst trades in Mets history. So regardless.
Also, it comes from that type of content comes from a place of they want people to watch, to listen, to interact. So it's not an accident that the players you see them put in these mock trade proposals are the same ones that were famous last year because the Mets traded for them. So these are already names that will resonate with fans, and they'll resonate with viewers, they'll resonate with production, they'll resonate with the fucking person in the graphics department who's making that exact graphic.
You're not going to hear them say, Jacob Reimer. They should move that young 19-year-old third baseman in St. Lucie. Like, you're not going to hear that.
No, but that's part of this game. Like, that's why, again, last year when the Mets make these trades to get these prospects, no one knows who the hell they are.
Nope.
They don't. So then now you know them because they made the trade. So the people who actually work in these front offices, it's so sick how much knowledge they have on their own teams, their own systems. And then to be able to stretch out and use scouts and use data and use information to find a 17-year-old in another organization when they have 50 of them to try and pick, that's the one I want. It's interesting. But that's a big reason why I think the first thing I would do is shop for that bat. And again, I even said that to be nice because I would love for them to shoot for the fucking moon. I don't know. Like, see what the fuck's going on with Randy Rosarena. See what's going on with Jazz Chisholm. I think Jazz is the best fit on this whole market for the Mets because he can do something that no one else can, which is play infield and outfield.
Yes.
He can play a good corner outfield. He can play an acceptable center field. He can play a good second base. He's a lefty hitter. He literally checks every single box that the Mets need for a position player. I think I like Jazz more than the average person. I like the flair. I like the energy. I like the excitement. I think he'd be an incredible fit in this locker room. I think he'd be an incredible fit in this lineup in the 5 spot. I think that there's so many things that could go well with Jazz and his team. The only thing that wouldn't really go well for him is health, and that's just something that's going to be a risk for everybody.
Yes, and it would be nice for him to actually probably get around a leader that he respects for once in his career
Francisco
as well.
Lindor.
Francisco Lindor, I think being that guy, considering he had no respect for Miguel Rojas because he's like, I'm better than you. Like, what the fuck? I don't want to listen to you, Miguel Rojas. You got cut by the Marlins.
Also, this is the craziest thing about Jazz too, because again, I think a lot of people shit on him for his career. He never has played a full season because he always gets injured. Yes. That sucks. We hate that. His 162 game averages is a 30-30 player with a 250 average.
That's gross.
That's what I'm saying. That's not a joke at all. Like he doesn't draw enough walks probably than you should. Sometimes it takes too many. He kind of falls in between those two things sometimes. But this is a really fucking good baseball player who's available right now.
Jazz would come into this lineup and hit like 5th or 6th. Like, that'd be sick. That'd be awesome.
And again, he's arbitration eligible next year as well. So you have him on the team 2025 and a year where where second base is unsettled and corner outfield's unsettled. I think that he, as a baseball player, is a perfect fit. And he's the kind of lightning rod that you get at the trade deadline, and it could change everything.
Okay, so let's talk about this Jazz Chisholm trade then a little bit more because he's going to be moved. So you're going to have to give a lot because there are going to be a lot of teams that want him. So what are you giving up? What's the most you're giving up for a guy like Jazz Chisholm? Because the Marlins farm system is dog shit. It is horrendously bad. The one thing they do have is they do have young pitching. They lack bats though. So they're going to be calling for the big name bats in the Mets org.
I don't think they're calling for those bats. I'm be honest.
I don't
think that this version of Jazz with 1 year of control gets you the first tier of Mets prospects. When I say the first tier of Mets prospects, I'm talking specifically Jet, Gilbert, Clifford.
Jazz is a free agent in 2027, by the way.
Yeah, so he's under control. Oh, so 2 more years control.
2 more years.
So 25.
He has 25, 26. Yeah, so that's why I'm like, dude, you got.
Are you positive on that?
100% sure.
100%.
100%. I'm looking at it right now.
That changed it a little bit.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. So are you giving up one of those guys?
They're probably. I don't think you give up. I mean, is Drew Gilbert? Is he available? Here's what I'm going to say. Jazz is 26. Been pretty good at the major league level already. Drew Gilbert's 23. Hasn't played at the major league level yet. Like, you probably make that trade, right?
Yeah, I guess you probably do, especially if you get the infield part of it.
I think
that's a hard one.
I'm going to say something. Do you move Jet?
Jet is the guy I was going to bring up more because I think he's someone that isn't helping this team for 2 more years.
Yes. With this injury this year, that kind of fucked us.
Totally. And again, I was going to bring up Jet much more in terms of some of the guys like Robert, or I was even going to drop like slight mentions on Skubal and Crochet just because they are available. And I think for either of those pitchers, you have to trade both of these guys to put a competitive offer out there. Probably at least. You probably give up the entire farm system. Again, for those guys, especially Skubal, it makes more sense because he might be the best pitcher in baseball.
Brain blast. What if you just turned Justin Verlander into Tarik Skubal?
That's what I'm saying.
That'd be sick. You move Gilbert and Clifford to get Skubal, and you're like, oh my God, we just went Justin Verlander and Tarik Skubal.
You probably have to also trade Jet, though. And you probably also have
to you have to trade all 3 of those guys?
Tarik Skubal's best pitcher.
No, I know, but like those two, I was thinking like those two and maybe like a pitching prospect type thing.
Yeah, I mean like Sprout, like a good one, a really good one. Like Skubal also is not a free agent until 2027.
Okay,
so he's
man.
He's incredible.
This is why I love the trade deadline. It's so fucked up.
Yeah. Tigers Twitter's having conniption right now because people are doing mock trades for Skubal, and it's just like some good prospects. And I saw one guy, it went viral because people were like, all right, relax. They were like, I'm only taking a Skubal trade if it's this. And he listed every single basically prospect in the Orioles organization. He was like Jackson Holliday, Sammy Basayo, Kobe Mayo, and I think it was Colton Cowser and one of their pitchers. He was like, this I think I would do. Nice. And I was like, you think? Yeah, okay. The guy who's had 2 years, who just missed 2 years almost of baseball with arm trouble, and now come back. Oh my God, he's throwing 5 miles an hour harder. This could last forever.
But like rounding it back up, like with this conversation of the trade deadline and these bigger guys that they're needle movers. They change this outlook for this team not only today, not tomorrow, for the next 2-3 years. This changes the outlook of the New York Mets, and I weirdly think that there's a shot, and I think David Stearns could be convinced for the right player to get rid of the guys that they just got in basically at the top of their organization to go ahead and flip them into really, really good major league players right now that are also, this is also the huge important part about these guys that the Mets would be trading for. They are free. They are cheap. They cost nothing financially besides the prospect package. So, I mean, how do you not do it?
This is why I'm saying it's like, this is why I think that there's a compelling argument to be had here at the trade deadline for David Stearns, because we're in a spot right now that I think is better than where most Mets fans, not even where we thought we'd be in May. I think even where a lot of us thought we'd be in March. Yeah. Like the fact that right now we're at 3 games behind the first wild card right now. Like this is a team that is in the fucking mix. Like we can make a move here. We could play.
We're not winning the NL East, but we can be comfortable in the wild card.
We can go play some playoff baseball. Like I think that should always be the goal. And we're starting this like with the wide fall. We're talking about these big superstars. What you'd have to trade to get them. And again, probably Jazz, Robert, especially the pitchers. You probably do have to trade one of the 3 best prospects in your system.
Probably two.
And probably, I think one. I think a very sensible trade for Jazz. You could get away with like Jet and. Again, like I'm going to say the name again, but like Tyler Stewart. Like a guy who's like a probable major league filler depth pitcher and an offensive player with tons of upside.
The only thing that scares me away from thinking that's the haul for the Marlins back is there's 17 other teams that probably want these guys too. And I think you're just going to get outbid at that point. But then you plant your flag and you say, that's what we're doing.
There was a report, I think it was from Fine Sand, that the Jazz price wasn't as much as expected. The Pirates were the first team in on it. That might just be the Marlins being like, push up the price. But I think that, because he also said specifically, I know he'd be a great Pirate. He said specifically the Robert price is significantly higher than the Jazz price.
That checks. I mean, as it should. Luis Robert has a chance to be like an MVP player tomorrow.
This is what I'm saying. But again, I think that there's a big perception around Jazz Chisholm that maybe some people don't want him. Because again, if you just look at this, he's never played the complete season. His on-base percentage for his career is barely above 300. I think even this year it's like 320, which is a high watermark for him. And he's known to be a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Difficult to deal with. Yeah, difficult to deal with at times.
I mean, he's a listener of the Draftnik Mark rankings every year. I respect that.
That's what I'm saying. I would fucking love Jazz.
Yeah, of course.
Team. But there's definitely some teams that will cross him off their list. I think that will kill the market for the Marlins. I think the reason they're even trying to trade him
Luis
now.
Acuna? Can we convince them that he's?
I wasn't going to go there, but I would love to just be like, this is Ronald Acuna's brother. You want him?
Do you know who this guy is? Look at his last name.
That'd be great. Him and Blade. I'm in. I'll do that trade.
Oh, easily. Yeah, that's legitimately a no-brainer. Anybody who says otherwise is stupid.
But I think that I do have a line of demarcation though with Jazz for our top 3. Like I don't know if I would include a Jet, a Drew, or a Clifford. I definitely wouldn't include Drew.
Interesting.
Because I think Drew Gilbert's a major league player right now. I think he just happened to get hurt.
I think Drew Gilbert is almost has to be in the trade because he is that major league-ish player that they can just play for free for the next 4 years and he'll be pretty decent.
Yeah, that's true too.
Like I'd say this, I'd almost rather not move Clifford because like conceptually Ryan Clifford has the chance to just like hit 45 home runs. Like he has a chance to just be like crazy power guy. Where Drew Gilbert conceptually, like we're saying the best is like what Brandon Nimmo kind of was before he took this step forward this year, which is a great baseball player.
If Brandon Nimmo was 5'10".
Yes. Like, but that's like kind of like the ceiling for a guy like Drew Gilbert. Where like a guy like Jazz Chisholm could just like
go 30-30.
30-30.
Yeah. But I also think that kind of players like kind of criminally underrated, like the guy that we think Drew Gilbert is. Like someone who
definitely is underrated.
If he's like a do-it-all center fielder who then like moves to left and he's like a 19 homer, 260, 330 guy.
There's also a realm possibility he's Alex Verdugo.
That's true. Yes, it's possible too as a lefty. It's compelling. It's very compelling.
It's compelling for sure. I think if the Mets were to get Jazz Chisholm, Drew Gilbert's 100% in there. I think that's almost their concession. We're going to have this young guy who can play the outfield now. He's going to go there. We'll give you Drew Gilbert. We don't really need him now.
Yeah, true. 3 years of control on him, so might as well. Ah, man, that's a good one. Do you think there's? I mean, I don't think it's going to happen for the Mets. But if you were the general manager, would you give like very serious consideration for either of these two starting pitchers?
I would prefer. Man, who do I prefer? I think Skubal over Crochet. Those are the two we're talking about, right?
No, yeah, I don't think it's even a question.
Okay, I would take. Well, who's the two starting pitchers are Skubal and Crochet.
Skubal and Crochet.
Okay,
yeah.
I gotcha. I wasn't sure what we were talking about.
I'm gonna say both. I think just both be very expensive.
Yeah, both are gonna be very expensive.
All three of those prospects, I think.
Yeah, probably, and maybe Sprout.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, son of a bitch. Why couldn't Christian Scott be so dominant right now? Fuck. No, okay. We could convince the White Sox to take somebody stupid. I'm still convinced.
Acuna and Parada.
Yeah, they could take those guys instead of Brandon Sprout. I think my head tells me Skubal. My heart tells me Crochet. The fact that Crochet has been able to be so good in such a stupid organization.
No, they're go with pitching now. They figure it out.
But like, I mean, he's always had like crazy stuff and been pretty good ever since he got drafted. He was like I think the first guy from that class up. He does have the injury concern, so is Skubal. Gun to my head.
Major ones.
Tarik Skubal. Tarik Skubal's a guy.
Okay. Yeah, and I also even think you convinced me to trade the whole farm system for him.
Really?
That might be stupid, but I just get Tarik Skubal in like World Series this year. Like, what's stopping us now? If we have one of the best pitchers in baseball, like, what's the deal?
Man, this sucks too. I think we also have to remember that the Mets, the pitching lab might be working. So like pitching prospects might be fake. Ones. Yeah, just get rid of them. Like every Mets fan last year was like clamoring, we didn't get any pitching prospects. Whoa. Who fucking cares? Because we could just make them out of thin air. Apparently, it seems like so. Dude, like just get rid of Blade, get rid of fucking Dom Ham, get rid of all these guys. Like just smell you later. Nolan McLean, you probably try to cash in on Nolan McLean, right?
McLean might be one that I think he has more value to be growing on top.
Okay.
Like I think that he just stopped hitting. Yeah, he's about to focus on pitching for the first time in his life. Like I think you have a lot more upside on there. But again, like all these other
if he's the extra for a guy, you're holding back.
I mean, again, if it's like a real player, if it's like a top end type of guy, I wouldn't be just dumping Nolan McLean to get us on like Evaldi.
Oh, hell no!
Mason
Please,
Miller.
God, no.
Like this would have to be a dynamic position player with years of control, or like a top 2 starting pitcher with years of control. But like that's where I think this conversation for these top end players also ends, because I think those are the only high end kind of guys the Mets are going to get. Like, I don't think this team is in position right now to really jump in on these really good rentals, and that there aren't even that many on the market right now. But I don't think that Jack Flaherty, who to me is probably the best rental on the market right now, I don't even think the Mets are going to kick the tires, because I don't think the Mets are willing to part with a high end prospect for 3 months for a team that might win a round or two of the playoffs.
Jack Flaherty's a Dodger. That's a lock.
Yeah, but Cali Boy going home. Even the guy like Yusei Kikuchi, who like if he starts game 3 of your playoff series, you probably don't feel horrible about it. Like he could be like the third banana playoff rotation. You feel okay, but I just think that his price might get a little overblown for where the Mets want to spend at this deadline if they're not being helped in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing we have to talk about too is, I mean, there's some really, really ugly pitchers that we could talk about. The Chris or Eric Fetties, the Cal Quantrells, the Tyler Andersons, Kyle Hendricks, Mike Clevenger. That's probably more realistically where they're going to be shopping, and that's just kind of what David Stearns has done in the past. Take a look at David Stearns' previous trade deadlines. He almost never trades for starting pitching, and when he does, it's Wade Miley. So, and that guy's got Tommy John this year, so we're not getting Wade Miley. He will not be a New York Met, but that's kind of where he shops on the deadline. Where he gets more creative is with the relievers and the hitters and the bats. Like, he's traded 4 bats before for those teams. Like, I'm starting to get. This is gonna sound crazy, but I'm starting to get behind the thought too of relief pitchers of just get arms. Just get more. I don't really particularly care if your ERA is good. I don't particularly care what you've done this year. I want bodies that can throw, and I want like a pitch that's good. I just want one good pitch. Like, you have a good fastball, you have a good slider, that's all I need.
Can I interest you in my favorite reliever, John Brebbia, with the great fastball?
Teach me about John Brebbia, because I'm scared of this guy. I don't know. Something about like the neck beard terrifies me.
I love a neck beard for a playoff run, but Brebbia is on the White Sox right now. His ERA is high, but his fastball is still amazing, and he just churns it over and over again. That White Sox team has one of the worst defenses in baseball, top to bottom. Brebbia is a hyper fly ball pitcher, coming to a really good defensive outfield with the wide grounds of Citi Field as the weather gets colder. I think that works out great. He's got a 30% strikeout rate, a 5% walk rate.
Is that high?
Yes, he's really fun. I've been telling you about John Brebbia for weeks. He just has a high whip and a high ERA because he gets a little too many home runs and a lot of balls that hit hard deep in the field. But I trust Harrison Bader and Brandon Nimmo to get to more of these in the White Sox outfielders. And I trust the Mets to help him with his approach just enough because right now his fastball is a significantly better pitch than the slider. For some reason, he's throwing the slider a good bit more than the fastball. So I think if they just spam fastballs high in the zone, use the slider as the out pitch, I think there's a world where John Brebbia becomes his team and he could be like a legitimate 7th inning guy. And you could probably get him for almost nothing.
Like, I think Mets fans are looking for like that. Who's going to save this bullpen? I'm going to tell you right now, nobody is saving this bullpen. There is nothing that you can do to save this bullpen besides more arms. Just get more.
And there is someone who can save this bullpen. I think you're looking at it wrong, but it has to be Edwin Diaz.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, yeah.
It's not someone that's coming through the door.
Yes.
Like this bullpen's going to be driven by how good he is the rest of the year. Because we're not going to trade for Mason Miller. It's like he's an unprecedented trade asset that I'm not giving up multiple top 100 prospects for.
Unless we're making him a starting pitcher.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but he also could never stay healthy until this year. He has such a litany of injuries. It's stupid. Like it's just unprecedented. There's also a lot of relievers available that are claimed to be available that have tons of team control. There's so little precedent for those guys ever being traded either. The one I can really remember is when the Yankees a year and a half ago, remember they got Scotty Efros?
Yes.
And he hasn't basically pitched since. He was like a really weird. They just love these sinker slider guys, and they traded Hayden Wesneski for it. And Clay Holmes, Clay Holmes actually had a lot of team control too, and they traded like a glut of prospects to get him. They all got to the major leagues, but none of them ever wound up being any good. But G1 Bay and
Hoy Park. It was Hoy Park.
Yeah, it was Hoy Park. That was
hand up.
Hand up. Right. Come on, guy.
Come on.
But they also Diego Castillo, the infielder, as well, and I think Roansy Contreras. Maybe no, that was James Taillon, I think. Yeah, the Yankees, the Pirates.
I'm gonna go look it up real quick for you.
It's just those trades for relievers with a lot of team control don't happen as often.
I got one. I got a reliever who got traded with a lot of team control.
Oh, I guess. You tell me who.
Colin Holderman.
That's a good one. I thought you were going to say Edwin Diaz.
No, Colin Holderman. That guy got traded with literally unlimited control for a fat dude who can't hit.
Maybe we find the next Colin Holderman.
It was Diego Castillo and Hoy Park, by the way.
Yeah, Diego Castillo and Hoy Park. There it is. So, but again, Clay Holmes was also bad until the Yankees traded for him. They made some adjustments. Like that's probably what it would have to be. But in terms of, again, just relievers that are rentals and available right now that make sense for the Mets. We said a couple times, Chad Green, always been a good pitcher. Yep. Jimmy Garcia, Blue Jays, pretty good. Carlos Estevez, stuff looks good right now. He doesn't walk anybody. I know Mets fans would love reliever. Doesn't walk anybody.
I'm terrified of Carlos Estevez. Terrified.
Yeah. Kyle Finnegan might be even a little too expensive for us. Probably just too many saves. Someone else would probably just make a better offer. Eric Swanson was a lights-out reliever for years with the Mariners. Seems like the Blue Jays might have killed him this year, but it seems like there's still some upside there. Drew Smiley, my favorite swingman. Lefty, just to get another lefty in here. But this just feels like where David Stearns is shopping, or it's a guy that we're not even thinking about, not even on our radars right now.
Honestly, I can't wait to find out who the guys that we haven't even spoken about that he trades for. That's going to be so much fun to talk about. Like, oh my God, how did we miss this guy?
It'd be like, again, if maybe someone with control, like Alex Faedo on the Tigers or Will Vest, like guys like that who like have control and they look like they're pretty good, but then you have to be willing to part with probably one of the 15 best prospects in your system. I just don't know if David Stearns is willing to do that for a reliever because I think he trusts himself to build relievers. Like I think there's a better chance that Shintaro Fujinami or Bryce Montes de Oca are better than any reliever that we get at the trade deadline.
There's a good chance, yeah.
Yeah, like legitimately. Like I think that's just where this Mets organization feels like their strengths are now, which is why, again, I jump back to the bats. I think that's the most obvious way, based on the types of prospects we want to trade, to improve this team rapidly.
Listen, 2015. Let's talk about 2015. They got bats. They got Uribe. They got Kelly Johnson. They got
that team had the best rotation in baseball.
Yoenis Cespedes. They got the bats.
But again, there's also a world where I would love to see them kick tires on a Zach Eflin, a guy who's good and pretty cheap for 2025 because that allows you. Zach Littel's been horrible as starting pitcher the last month.
Oh, really?
He's been miserably bad. Yeah,
put him back in the bullpen. Get him in the bullpen again.
That's what I'm saying. But a guy like Eflin, like he just becomes such a good sponge in the middle of this rotation. Someone you can so rely on for work and innings, moving that sinker and his cutter all over the zone. Hasn't been that good of a year, but last year he was like a Cy Young candidate, so he's probably just somewhere in between those two guys. He'd be good. He probably will cost you a good bit. You probably have to trade. Probably none of the top 5 prospects. Probably one of the prospects ranked 5 to 10.
Definitely Jesus Baez.
Oh, they would fall. The Rays would turn him into such a ball player.
He'd be next Junior Caminero.
Fuck.
It's gonna
He's
be
a little
Jesus
smaller than
Baez
Caminero.
for Zach Eflin. You do it?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay.
It'd be Baez and my favorite trade candidate of the day, Tyler Stewart. Both of them.
There it is.
No, you know who the Rays would want?
Who?
Brett Beatty.
Oh fuck.
Pull power. Shit. That's their thing. That's exactly who they'd want.
You know what? Had the best career in Tampa Bay ever, Brett Beatty.
I just wanted to be happy. Yeah, at this point, like I'd be so happy.
He will not hurt us in Tampa. I'm so happy to send him there.
But I think that's who the Rays want. We've also heard in the past that they've always been interested in Ronnie Mauricio, who I think that now he's like it's a little too. We know he's a little too good now, maybe to trade him. But Eflin's a guy, as well as 2 others who I think would be significantly cheaper, but of the same idea. Old friend Chris Bassett, Jameson Taillon, another one for you, Mark, Eric Fetty. All guys under control for next year, not making a ton of money. This Mets rotation next year doesn't have anybody in it. There's no one.
I can't.
We have no starting pitchers 2025.
Fetty pitch. I can't do it.
He's good. He's good now. You have to get over it.
I can't. I won't.
He's good.
I'm still remembering him pitch against the Mets on the Washington Nationals, giving up 8 runs in the first inning. Keith Hernandez like, "Jeez, this guy stinks."
You know the song "Fetty" by Max O'Cream? It's one of the best.
What
one of the best
Fetty
songs coming.
I'll allow Eric Fetty.
Fetty on Fetty.
No, I'll allow Eric Fetty on the New York Mets if he comes out to Fetty Wap.
I just left Houston. I just left Earth. You've never heard that song? That's one of my
Max
OG college rap songs.
I don't know Max O'Cream.
Max, you have a whole world waiting for you.
I can't wait to look this up after we finish this hour and a half recording.
Grannies, roaches, they're amazing. But again, I think that makes the most sense. Then in terms of pitchers that are rentals who are just can pitch in the rotation, so maybe you can move a guy like Scott to the bullpen, not feel that bad about it, and not have to put all the eggs in the Tyler McGill basket for the rest of the year. Cal Quantrill, Clevenger, horrible, miserable human.
Quantrill's got control.
Oh, Quantrill has control?
Till 2026.
Oh, interesting. Quantrill's a new split this year that's been really, really, really good. Also, teammate Austin Gomber. I feel like if you get the guy out of Colorado, he might just be okay. I think
can't be worse, right?
Can't be worse. I hope not. Tyler Anderson stinks. Kyle Hendricks stinks, but they're breathing lungs and beating hearts. I don't know.
They have David Stearns written all over them though.
But again, listen to these starting pitchers available at the deadline. It drops off fast,
quick.
Because my gut tells me Skubal nor Crochet get traded. I don't think those teams have it in them. So then it comes down to Eflin, Flaherty, Kikuchi. Eflin with the control, Flaherty, Kikuchi the rentals. Nathan Eovaldi, who I think is a rental. I don't remember.
I'll look it up real quick. That would be like a smart move for the Rangers.
Yeah, to get
that would really prove if Chris Young is like progressive or if Bruce Bochy's really gotten his fucking massive head in there.
Yeah, Nathan Eovaldi is
a rental with a vesting option.
Okay, so hopefully that doesn't vest because that guy's toast. He's roast beef. But he's someone who every time he gets to the playoffs, he's unhittable.
He's unbelievable.
I don't really know. So someone's definitely going to pay up for him. It's probably not going to be the Mets.
Wins World Series.
Yeah, so then it comes back to the same vat of Eflin, Bassett, Fetty, Quantrill, Taillon, guys who can be in the rotation next year at a fixed cost.
God.
I mean, again, like this. I know. You guys want the messed up trade deadline preview? It's not going to be sexy. Like this,
we gave them like 25 minutes of sexy, where we were like, "What if we trade every single prospect for Luis Robert?"
Yeah, Robert would be sick. But then again, I keep coming back to the same tier of bats. Guys like Rengifo, guy like Brandon Lau, everyone's favorite former Met, Ahmed Rosario.
God,
No, those
team.
aren't needle movers. Those aren't needle movers. But again, Winker, Mets need a lefty bat. He makes tons of sense. Taylor Ward, advanced data, fucking
lot of
loves
control.
him.
Taylor Ward
Always has. Apparently they want too much for him, and no one's beating their price.
Too much.
Ian Happ doesn't have a long-term deal. Lane Thomas, I think, has 1 or 2 years left. Tommy Pham's always ready for action, but there's no way he's coming back into this clubhouse. But
no, definitely not. Honestly, Tommy Pham would ruin this team, I think.
Even a guy like Brandon Drury, just be like, here, come out of Anaheim, man, play some winning baseball. Like that's Kelly Johnson-ish from 2015.
Remember what it's like to have some fun again.
Like I think the Mets should have a lot of room to build on this bench right now because every single day we got DJ Stewart and Ben Gamble sitting on there. They're probably just not major league caliber baseball players right now.
No, we love our King DJ, but I think his time has come.
And he has an option. We're not losing him.
No,
we're not cutting him.
He could come back next year if he has a great spring.
We're happy to have him.
He could come back in September when the roster expands. Whatever.
Yeah. So again, I think that's. I mean, I don't even know. Do you think that's the whole trade deadline preview? We talked about 40 names.
Okay. Let me just throw out. Let's throw out a couple chaos scenarios just to wrap up this trade deadline preview before we go into the Subway series.
And Riley Green. Forgot about Riley Green.
Riley Green's coming. Riley Green, you are a New York Met, and we did call about Jose Altuve. So
he's coming home.
Yeah, don't forget that. Okay, let me throw out two chaos ones. If the Tigers pay for all of Javier Baez's contract, do you give him a shot again? Because holy shit, him and Lindor were incredible that 1 year. They were so good.
The machismo infield of Baez, Lindor, Iglesias. I'd be down for it.
And
then you put Vientos at first? Yeah.
I know, right? But seriously, if the Tigers said, we pay every single dollar, you will not pay $1 more than what you physically have to employ this man on your team, do you take what is the worst hitter in Major League Baseball?
Yeah, fuck yeah. Bring him back to New York. Bring him back with one of his best friends. I don't think he'd be very good, but for league minimum, totally.
And if he stinks, you cut him, right? That's what it is. If he stinks, get rid of him.
I'll just play second base. I hit ninth.
I'm serious. I think the Tigers might take a brand new washing machine for Javier Baez.
I don't think I would trade a brand new washing machine for him. I think it would have to be 2013 model.
Okay, and then the other chaos one. I think Randy Arozarena is the other chaos one.
Yeah, I think
Randy Arozarena has the chance to come into this team and do what Cespedes did, where all of a sudden you're like, holy shit. Like Randy Arozarena, you want to talk about clutch? You want to talk about hits with runners in scoring position? I don't care what the numbers say. I've watched him in the playoffs. I watched 2020. He just has the chance to and the fucking the machismo that guy has, the swag that he'd bring to this team. Oh my God, that'd be incredible.
He probably costs a bunch though. He has 2 more years of control after this one.
Well, you're definitely getting rid of Jesus Baez for sure there.
Yeah, Jesus Baez, and then it's Beatty, and that's probably a pitcher.
What if I say, okay, I'm going to say something crazy. Just I want to get your opinion here. Brett Beatty, Christian Scott, and any other top prospect for Randy Arozarena?
I thought you were going to say Randy and Eflin.
No, just Randy.
I don't know about Scott. Scott got 6 years of control here, and a guy who's probably a major league ready guy.
There's no truth to this. I just wanted to see what your opinion was.
I thought about it. I did think about it. If you would tell me it's Arozarena and Eflin, I would include Christian Scott.
Oh, yeah, of course. I think that's a little bit different.
Yeah. But I'm saying, I think there's, again, they must probably get creative, do something like that too. Or, you know what happened? This team might not do anything.
Or they do nothing. Yeah, they do nothing.
We might do nothing.
They trade out Mottavino and they do nothing.
just have fun. Shintaro Fujinami, baby.
That's actually my number one move. We got to replace Adam Ottavino. That's if there's anything that they do.
He looked better the other night. He did.
He can't be worse.
Can't be worse. No, he can't. But
all right.
It's a good one. It's a good trade deadline preview.
Yeah, we got 25 more minutes to talk about the Subway Series, so enjoy it. All right, so we're now moving on to the Subway Series portion of the episode. You guys know the drill. We like to talk about what's going on over here, but we're doing something a little bit different. We're bringing on a guest here. We have Zach from the Makeshift Project. Zach, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it, and glad to have another Mets fan joining us here today.
I hear you guys have opinions between yourselves. I'm here to settle what the fans think. All right. You guys are way too close to things. This is what the true people think.
And usually when we have people on for the preview of the next series, we like to have a fan from that team on. But we said, fuck that. Not for the Subway Series. I don't want to bring any Yankee fans in here. We don't want to screw up the mojo we have right now. So just, Zach, what are your opinions ahead of this Subway Series? We're going to have Yankee Stadium this week.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because my roommate was trying to beg me to go to the previous Subway Series. I wound up not going. I was like, I could go to any other random game for cheaper. And I'm like, you know what? Like, you guys have this one. I was thinking about making my way out this week. I'm excited as a Mets fan. This second half isn't off to the best start, but I mean, I don't know. Senga's coming back soon, right? You got Quintana and Manaya pitching, right, in the series.
Yep.
Yeah. So like two pretty solid pitches for us. I mean, Quintana was hot before he got rocked a little bit. I feel pretty good. I mean, we're versing Gill and Cole. We'll see what happens, but listen, as a Mets fan, you got to believe always. That's always my pride and joy. We got to take the season serious. We got to do it.
Now, I know your co-host Brian couldn't join us today. He got busy, and he's a Yankees fan. Do you guys give each other a lot of shit back and forth of Mets-Yankees stuff?
Yeah, we definitely do a little bit. I poke at all his sports teams. He's a Nets fan. He's a Rangers fan. Yeah, I'm Mets, Knicks, Dolphins.
Whoa,
Dolphins a little bit out there. Yeah, so notoriously pretty miserable franchises. But hey, you know what? I'm used to this stuff. You're always optimistic going into a year. You're always disappointed, and when you're good, it's great.
How'd the Dolphins sneak in there? Why are you a Dolphins fan?
So my name is Zach Thomas. So Zach Thomas, Hall of Fame linebacker for the Dolphins. I felt like I just had to go that route. But the season I became a Dolphins fan, I was a Giants Dolphins fan. Season I became one, Dolphins went 1-15, and the Giants won the Super Bowl. So I've yet to see my team win a championship, which, you know what, eventually it'll be the best day of my life.
Yeah, I mean we're in the same boat. I'm a Mets, Knicks, Rangers, and Washington Commanders fan. So there's no winning in my future anytime soon. And James pretty much the same thing.
No, I'm Mets, Jets, Knicks, Rangers. So I had like as bad of a 20 years of professional sports fandom as basically anybody in America could have possibly had, besides people from Minnesota, I'd say, just besides them. So when I was going to college, I was like, I need a winner. So I went to Ohio State, and my freshman year won the national championship.
Oh yeah, so you count that? Listen,
see, I've had nothing. How
could I not count that? Of course, I count that. I was there. I was a part of it. I was basically on the team. I was a freshman. That was every single snap. I was there.
My random poll of the day is the Orlando Apollos won the AAF league. It got shut down because of COVID. I was a fan. That's the team I was rooting for. But that doesn't count. They were like 7-1 and the season ended. It doesn't count. I'm not taking it.
This is a really deep cut, but I remember that AAF season vividly. And the Apollos had a really good coach. Was it not?
Was it Spurrier?
It was Spurrier, I think. And I remember
Spurrier.
one random sports book that I had AAF futures. And my one friend from college and I were big football guys. We were like, "Oh, they're gonna win. We have to take it." I think we had like 7-1, and they were dominating the whole league. And the season got ended, and we did not get paid out. And I was so fucking mad at these people. Live with that forever. I'll never forget the Apollos' incredible season. That was a run.
Dude, Garrett Gilbert, quarterback, he led it.
That was it. And you got the NFL contract. Oh man.
Gary Gilbert, I think, has the Brett Beatty connection too, right? Didn't they? I think they went to the same high school. When we did that TikTok, that was
with Garrett Wilson. Yeah,
both of them also just can't perform at the top level yet. We'll get there. I know. Listen, I'm telling you as a fan.
if there was ever an AAF for baseball, Brett Beatty would win the MVP. There's no question. Yeah. He would destroy it. Like if an independent league started that was just like a hair better than AAA, but a little bit worse than the major leagues, he would be the best player in the league. All-star, jersey in the rafters, number retired forever.
It's so tough because like I'm a believer too, and it's like I feel like he's got like the Vientos like potential to go down that route, maybe 20, 25 home runs, bunch of RBIs, hit about like 280, 290 in like a great year. Listen, I would love that, but not yet, Brett Beatty. Maybe he'll have his day, or maybe he won't be a Met. Who knows? If it's not on the Mets, it's going to be done on another team. Put it that 100%.
way. Someone on Mets Twitter, when Vientos really took the job in June, and we talked about it on the podcast, they just put up a picture of Lucas Duda and Ike Davis, which you hear about Orish, you got that connection, and it fits so damn well about exactly how it went. Where the one guy was like destined, he was the higher draft pick, he was a better prospect, and the other guy just might have been a little bit hungrier and might have just wanted a little bit more, and that's kind of where it is. And it doesn't work out that badly, because if you would tell a Mets fan 3 years ago, one of these two guys will be a future corner infielder, great player, potential all-star bat, you're like, okay, if we get one of them, whoever it is, I'm not going to be upset about it, but having one is fine.
Yeah, the whole Ike Davis, Lucas Duda, didn't they determine that off like bat velocity or like ball velocity, exit velocity? I think that's how they determine Ike Davis versus Lucas Duda.
Had elite exit velos. I remember, you can now look back on Baseball Savant, and he's like, if he was around now, people would be like drooling over Lucas Duda. He did exactly what everybody in the baseball community, like the analytics world, wants, which is hit the ball hard and walk. And he was elite at it. We just didn't appreciate it enough, but it also doesn't help that he couldn't make a throw from 90 feet away. But regardless, we don't need to talk about Lucas Duda as much anymore. Talk about another first baseman on this team, Pete Alonso. He's been struggling mightily, and coming into the Subway Series, it's been a rough stretch, especially this series against the Marlins. me and James love Pete. We know Pete's great. We're trying to get everybody to give him a little standing boost his confidence a little bit because he's like a little dog. He's a puppy. Like he's in the corner of shame. He's feeling bad. He's feeling sad. How do you feel as a Mets fan about Pete Alonso? What's your thoughts on him this season thus far?
I mean, is he doing anything that differently than last year? Maybe a few less home runs on track. Heading into the All-Star break, wasn't getting the ball out of the park, and that's what he's kind of paid to do.
Yeah.
I always said if he could bat like 230, 240 and hit 40 home runs, I'm fine with it. I think he's dipped kind of around that or a little bit below, and he's not driving in as many runs as he did in previous years. So I feel good about Pete Alonso. I want him to be a Met forever. I'm one of those, but it's tough. And I think you heard this argument a million places. If we get a player in return next year or you bring up prospects and then you sign like a Soto, like you're going to be fine. Like, and it's hard to get rid of those homegrown guys, but like at the same time, you're going to have generational talent that's available. So if you're getting rid of him so that you could sign someone else, maybe okay. Or one or two, like, B+, A- players. Cause you have tools on the team that can replace him at first base. It's not going to be the whole thing, but it's like the Moneyball thing. It's like, well, 30 home runs here and 20 home runs here. And all of a sudden you got 50.
Dude, when you made that comment, I wish that your partner was on here for a Yankee fan to hear that. Be like, yeah, you lose Pete Alonso, but you get Juan Soto. It's like, it's not all bad. It's like, yeah, you trade the guy who's like pretty good for the guy who's a pure generational all-time talent. I think most Mets fans take that trade every time.
Completely. And like, I agree. Give him the Lindor treatment. Give him what was formerly known as the Trey Turner treatment. If he's suffering, if he's not performing well, give him a standing ovation. Get him going a little bit. The home run derby was tough to watch.
Yeah, miserable.
Hard one.
And like, I shouldn't care. Like, why do we care about that? I'm much more like involved in the season, but like, I'm just happy he didn't come in last place. What was he? He's second to last by like a home run or two. It was tough.
It was a rough outing for Pete. He's had a rough like month. It seems like he's just been down in the dumps, been terrible mentally. It seems like it's really been taking a toll on him, which sucks.
But like Lindor did the same thing to start the year, right? I mean, you're batting like 150, and you're like, this is the guy we're paying $341 million, and then he comes out. He's should have been an all-star. So
100%.
You got streaks this season. I used to be a big Jeff McNeil guy, and now like I'm low on him too right now. But like again, like you put him on like the Dodgers or something, they'll pick him up and sign him for like $3 million a year, and he'll bat like 330 again. It's just how it works as a Mets fan.
Zach, Mark and I talk about how we get like trapped in our own Mets echo chamber a lot because like we're kind of the only Mets fans that we talk to this deeply, and then we both have our dads who kind of agree with us because they're our dads and we talk to them all the time about this shit too. So it just becomes like a cesspool of the exact same takes over and over again. Have your opinions on Pete changed at all as the years gone on? Like you have a different view of Pete Alonso now than you might have on like March 15th?
I think it was so dependent on how the season was going. I mean, if they weren't in contention and it wasn't working out and the locker room wasn't so great, like I'm leaning more towards switching it up, right? The Mets have made a push here. They're in a spot where they could battle for a wild card. I definitely want to see him throughout the season. I don't want to overpay him in the offseason. My perspective's probably changed as they were bad and good and bad and good. I mean, they've been so streaky this year, but my opinion on the player is the same. He's hardworking. He cares up there. He's a player that I want in my clubhouse. I don't want to see him go. So I'm going to say I stayed pretty steady, but I was like more okay with trading them when the Mets are 11 games under 500.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be nice for him to definitely wake up here, especially again, struggling against the Marlins like that. This series has been absolute hell, and going into the Subway Series, they kind of need to win some games here, especially if they want to be considered as like a playoff team moving forward. Luckily, we kind of started this awful streak for the Yankees. I think I saw something where they've lost 20 of their last 26 or 29 games, which is kind of crazy.
It's 29.
Yeah, for a team that was like so hot to start the year. Going into the Subway Series with both these teams playing poorly, do you think that the vibes are still there? Because I feel like the first matchup we had at Citi Field, there was some hype there because the Mets were just starting to get hot and the Yankees were one of the best teams in baseball. And now these teams are both kind of skidding into this next part of the weird 2 games apiece Subway Series that we get. Do you feel like there's the same hype that there has been?
I think so, yeah. It's the Subway. I got a roommate over here that's across the wall over here. He's a Yankees fan, and he drives me crazy all the time. Yankee fans every single year. They get super excited. They're doing great, phenomenal. And then they go on this midseason slide. And all we say to them, you'll be fine. You'll be okay. But we're not set up to win a championship. But we're not. And then they wind up winning a few games in September. They go into the postseason and they don't. Fine. You're in the postseason every year. So the hype for them is still there. They're still in playoff contention. You got two teams that are battling for playoff spots. I think the hype is still there. And as the younger brother, Mets fans, I hate the younger brother expression, but as the younger brother, like, yeah, we want to go in there and beat you. But for like this kid, I wish he was here. I should have brought him on. He said to me before the Subway Series, he goes, oh, I'll be happy if the Yankees split. This is when the Mets were like 5 games under 500. I'm like, what kind of fan are you? I'm like, this is a crosstown rival, and you're just okay if they split the series? It was unbelievable. I'm like, that's just the epitome of Yankee fans, and I don't want to be a basher of Yankee fans because they do care. He watches every single game, this kid, but sometimes they just get in your head, man. The spice is still there.
Yeah, Yankee fans definitely care, but there's almost like a fear of them, of the Mets, because there's so much of every Yankee fan's personality is that older brother mentality. But there's a world where it doesn't exist forever. If the Yankees keep winning, this could be 15 years of that championship for the Yankees. That'll be one of the longest droughts, which is insane to say, in the history of the franchise, which is fucking cool. But also, it's like for them, that wears you down. And this team just has holes after holes after holes. Then you have radio hosts like favorite of the show for Mark and I, Keith McPherson, who says that this series is the World Series for the Mets. And then he's a Yankee fan, like chanting and screaming in the dugout, like terrorizing players on the field, terrorizing Mets fans in the stands. It's like, so whose World Series is it? Sometimes, I don't know, it gets a little conflated where the Yankees just kind of are stuck in a rut right now where, I don't know, they're just kind of playing to hang on, see if they can get hot again, when the Mets have a lot on the line every single game. So it's fun, but it always flips too in Yankee Stadium. The Mets play bad in Yankee Stadium. I hate going there.
I remember bless you. Ahmed Rosario walking off in Yankee Stadium.
Yes.
I think that's got to be. I need a stats guy. Like, is that the only walk-off homer to happen in an opponent's stadium? I feel like it has to be.
It's got to be up there.
I feel like that year there might have been a few of them, but that was the one that sticks out to me that I remember the most. I remember Keith was talking about it. I was at a bar
with my friends. It was fun. I was all the Yankee fans. I'm pointing and laughing because I thought they had it won.
Yeah, Ahmed Rosario, still waiting for him to turn the corner. But any feeling for you also, gonna get back to Subway Series a little bit, but just trade deadline stuff. Talk about it briefly. Any feeling for you, buyer, seller, one player you want, anything like that?
I don't know the exact player that I would want. I just, like, the bullpen's been such a issue this season, and like, especially with Diaz being up and down, and he's been great in his last 10 appearances or so. They need to beef up the bullpen, though. I'm watching guys that I don't even know the names of anymore. And that's no offense to them, because some of them have been good. But, like, was it Reed Garrett? Like, I can't watch him pitch every single other game. Like, I don't know. It's tough for me hopping in because I don't watch the games as much as I used to. But when I see a blown lead and stuff and they're winning late and then I see them collapse, like that's the hardest part for me. And if you want to win and you want to be a contender, you need a bullpen. You've seen that with the Rays for years. And then just picking up, I don't know, maybe another bat. You got kind of that DH spot that looms from time to time, or somebody like an outfielder. I'm hoping Marte comes back. I don't even know the injury report on him because I feel like every single time he's close, he doesn't.
Yep.
So, I mean, he's had a great year, and if he comes back, that lineup gets better. And I honestly like our lineup right now. So just beef up the pitching. You get Senga back, which will hopefully be like an all-star edition, like when we got DeGrom back 2 years ago. So we'll see. No target in particular. I remember like in 2015, I was like Cespedes. Like, I want Cespedes, and we got him. But yeah, it's a little different this time around. Just give me some help in the bullpen. I'll be happy.
Well, I do like how you mentioned lineup because you give me a natural segue into what we're going to do here.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody probably knows you from, again, Makeshift Project, and you guys have had tons of clips go viral on Instagram and TikTok. So we're going to try our little shot here at getting some little Instagram, TikTok clips from you, seeing if we can keep the momentum going here.
Let me turn my production light on.
Yeah,
turn
the light on.
I forgot this light. Hold on.
Get everything going. I'll explain it while you're setting everything up. There it is.
Wow. It was pearly whites
right there. So what we're going to have you do is we're going to go around the infield. We're going to go around the field, and we're going to have you pick a lineup between Mets and Yankees current players. So we'll start at catcher. We'll end at starting pitcher. And you're going to go through and tell me who you would start at each position between the Mets and the Yankees current roster. So we're going to get it started here at catcher. Who are you going with?
I'm taking Francisco Alvarez. Duh.
Easy.
Come on. He's batting like 298 last time I checked. He's got some pop in the bat. And the Mets just win when he's on the field. I don't even know that Yankees catcher anymore. Come on. Get him
There
out.
we go. I like that. Good pick. Okay, first base. It's going to be between Pete Alonso and what? Ben Rice? I guess that's the option. He's been hot, but where are you going with it first?
Ben Rice sounds like a guy you would create an MLB The Show. Like that doesn't sound like a real person. Like that's my player. No, I'm taking Pete Alonso. Come on, listen, track record, because he could get hot at any time and he could go on one of those runs where he hits 8 home runs in like 10 games. It's gonna be helpful. I'm making a postseason run here.
Okay, second base. We've got Gleyber Torres versus oh my God, Latin hit superstar Jose Iglesias.
Is this a little biased? Like I feel like
I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like I'm on one way. I don't know. Gleyber hasn't been that great this year, right?
No, he's
not bad. He's been quite bad.
So like, where am I going? OMG, right? Like
Easy.
Jose Iglesias. I've been a fan of Jose Iglesias since he was on the Angels.
Okay.
Making highlight after highlight. I used to send clips to my friends. I'm like, I love this guy. And then when the Mets picked him up, 11 games under 500, oh my God, exactly. I didn't even know he was the artist of that song until like 2 weeks ago. I thought he just performed on the field. I was like, what the hell is happening at Citi Field?
This is also big because if you could pick Iglesias, then you also get the song. Like that's crazy for the locker room vibes. You need it.
It's the clubhouse, man. It's important. So I picked 3 Mets so far.
Shortstop, I think you're picking another Met. I mean, this one feels obvious, but Francisco Lindor, Anthony Volpe.
Yeah, we'll take Lindor.
Yeah, that was
snubbed All-Star. I mean, you should have
Snubbed
made it.
All-Star.
Am I going to pick the other way at all? I don't know. I feel like I will eventually. We'll get
Outfield, you might.
Outfield, you might age a little bit there. Third base, Mark Vientos or DJ LeMahieu, I think, is kind of their option there. Maybe JD Davis. You getting to pick JD?
JD. I don't want to go back to JD Davis. I was such a fan of him. Was it? How long ago was that? Was it
5 years?
He was still here,
2019?
what, 2022?
2022, we
Yeah,
traded.
but the year he batted like 300 and he was knocking
2019.
walk-off doubles off the center field wall. Like,
Yeah.
oh man, he had power. He had pop. I'm not taking him though. He's supposed to be a lefty killer, and every single time I see him against a lefty, he strikes out now. I can't do it. Give me Vientos. He's young. The young guns. Our whole infield is the Mets.
Yes.
Is this a
Good.
surprise?
That's how it should be.
That's a sign.
All right, now we're moving to the outfield. Things might change here, although not in left field. We're going to keep the Mets streak going here. Brandon Nimmo or Big Alex Verdugo? Who are you going with there?
Yeah, Alex Verdugo, who also just struggled besides against his former team, right?
Yeah.
No, I'll take Brandon Nimmo. Another snubbed All-Star.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, like it's a shame that the Mets only had Alonso, and he was the one that was struggling the most at the deadline or the All-Star break. Give me Brandon Nimmo. We'll
Okay.
take him.
Easy.
Center field, we've got City Boy Harrison Bader or Aaron Judge. I mean,
Listen, I love Bader. Like, I'm all, but I can't. Aaron Judge is top 3 player in the MLB, just hands down. Phenomenal player, a generational talent. You take him every time.
Yeah.
And then right field, we've got Juan Soto. I don't know if you've heard of him. I mean, I don't know if we even want him on the Mets. Who knows? Juan Soto, who is this guy? Going up against, I guess,
McNeil?
DJ
Stewart?
Whoever plays right field for the Mets.
You could take McNeil, Marte. You could take whoever, any of those guys, and pair them together. They're not taking over Juan Soto, who will be a Met in the future.
There you go.
Listen, we got our fingers crossed over here. We're digging into Stevie's pockets. So.
James, who's the Yankees DH right now?
They split now because it's been Jahmai Jones somewhat normally. So we'll go Jahmai Jones for the last one, Yankees DH versus JD Martinez from the Mets.
Yeah, no, JD Martinez.
Nice.
Again, Jahmai Jones, my player. That guy's a my player. He's not real. That's like until you establish yourself for like at least a year in the MLB, if you have a name like that, I can't take you. No, we're taking JD. He's one of the best sluggers of the last 5-10 years.
All right, I like it. I mean, seems like a lot of Mets. Mets better.
Mets.
Mets better team. Are the Mets a better team?
That's
than
what
the Yankees?
I'm like. Why aren't the Mets up? And plus, like our pitching hasn't even been that bad. I guess it's the bullpen. Whatever. You're gonna get me like amped up over here.
I'm gonna do the real kiss of death thing. This was like me and James have arguments about the Yankees all the time. James tends to like the Yankees a little bit more than me, just because I have my horse blinders on and I just blindly hate them. There's so much rage that is behind me with the Yankees that I tend to overlook sometime. But I will say, they are having the issues that I thought that they would have at the beginning of the year, where their lineup is so top heavy, and we've seen that. And I think the Mets kind of figured that out, and the Red Sox definitely did when they exposed them that one series where it's like, hey, don't pitch to Aaron Judge and Juan Soto and let the other guys beat you, and they have a really difficult time scoring runs. I wonder if the Mets are going to go with that same kind of philosophy again, because in the first Subway Series, they really didn't pitch to Judge or Soto unless they were up a bunch of runs, and that's when they did get their home runs. But otherwise, they were just walking these guys. Put them on base. Go ahead. Jahmai Jones, give it a shot. See if you can do it.
That's also they were so specific about wanting lefties to face the Yankees again. Like they had it lined up originally for Peterson and it wasn't Quintana, it was Manaea. That's who faced the Yankees the first time. Then Quintana got sick out of the All-Star break. He's had a fever for the last 3 days. I hope he's okay. We're recording this before the game on Monday, guys. So I hope he's okay before the start tonight. But they just had to get the lefties out there, and apparently the Yankees lineup kind of struggles with the lefties. So I feel like Mets might have started to really show cracks in this Yankee armor that other teams weren't able to.
Yeah, I'm hopeful the same way. I mean, I think if the bats come around, then we can compete.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. Because when the Mets score 1 and 2 runs, I don't have confidence in them winning these days. Besides the 1-0 win with Sevy the other day. But even Sevy said it himself. He said, he's like, oh, you just walk those guys. Like the game plan's not a secret. It's like you pitch around these guys or you walk them and you should be okay. And then you score 5 runs, you're not going to lose because they're only scoring, 1 or 2 from those guys. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that they, I would love a clean sweep for the season. That would just be glorious.
That'd be crazy.
And I could just rub that in to Yankee fans for the next year.
Especially because the Yankee fans are like in complete panic mode right now. And anything to make that fan base sweat just a little bit more brings true joy to me. That's like one of the things that is pure happiness in life, is seeing Yankee fans crumble like that.
And I'm telling you that this guy I keep pointing over here because he could probably hear me. He's going to tell me. I'm going to ask him, what are your thoughts going in the series? And he'd be like, oh, well, I'll be happy if we split again. You have like 2 of your best pitchers. Like you have
2
Garrett
best
Cole
pitchers
going, and you got, I can't even, is it Gil?
Yeah.
Who was sensational until he faced the Mets.
Yeah.
You can't just be like complacent about, I don't know, like you need to get back on track. You won't be happy if you split. You want the season series. It matters. It doesn't matter if it doesn't matter to them, because it matters.
Well, the Yankees are dead when they stop bringing up World Series. When they're like, oh, we've made the playoffs. When they start bragging about making the playoffs, that's when the franchise is dead. And that's kind of what they've been doing for the last 15 years. They're not really obviously they want World Series. I'm not going to say Yankee fans don't want that. But when their bragging chip is no longer World Series, you're like, oh, things have changed a little bit around here.
And that does make it less fun for the series, because I want Yankee fans to be maniacal. Like I want them to be insane. Like I want them foaming at the mouth like they were a month ago in Queens, and they got beat, and now they have to pull back a little bit and pretend they don't care that much. Pretend it really doesn't matter. No, we're just trying to keep pace with the Orioles. All we're looking at every day is the Orioles. We don't care about the Mets. Yeah, sure, you don't care about the Mets. You're playing the Mets. You should fucking care about the Mets.
It's always an excuse. It always comes up, and if we cry about it and then make excuses for them and be like, oh well, like, but you're still in this. They're like, oh no, you just care because I'm literally gonna jump out of my chair. Like I'm like panicking over here, and I know he's gonna say something after. I can't wait.
All right, to wrap up the Mets Subway Series preview here, Zach, we're gonna put you on the spot. One Mets player who's gonna have the biggest series for the Mets. Who's gonna step up?
Oh, in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, the gut always says someone like Lindor, like you lean on him, especially like, I feel like he's been a Subway Series killer. The 3 home runs in the one game a few years ago. But I think someone sneaky could be like a Brandon Nimmo.
Okay.
And I don't know how sneaky that is, but he was hot going in the break. I don't know how he has the amount of RBIs he has, batting, first for the first part of the year, and now he hits second. But I'm going to say he has some big hits. I think that's going to be the swinger. And Alonso's still going to struggle a little bit, and people are going to panic. And then, you're going to have this talk until the trade deadline. But I think after the deadline, I think Pete hits the ground running if we still have him. And if we don't, we'll see what happens. But I'll take Nimmo. And then, sneaky pick, Jeff McNeil. If he plays.
Yeah.
I mean, Jeff,
if he plays. Because he had a big first game back. And hopefully he could get the bat going a little bit.
Well, Zach, thank you so much for hopping on with us. Make sure you plug everything. Tell everybody what you guys do over there at Makeshift. And, appreciate you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. We're the Makeshift Project. It's me and my buddy Brian, who wasn't here today. He's a Yankee fan. He whines as well. We're the Makeshift Project on most platforms, Makeshift Project on YouTube. We just do guessing games, top 5 lists, blind rankings. We're the podcast about everything you didn't know you cared about. That's how I best explain it. And it's just, two best friends in the basement, chatting and making fun of each other. So go follow us, go check us out. And guys, thank you so much. And let's go Mets, right? Just for the love of God, can we just have a good end of the year?
Yes. One time for the boys. One time, that'd be great. All right, guys. That's it. I think I ended the episode weirdly after the preview. I don't know.
Yeah, you did. I didn't really know why you did that at the time too, but
because I don't know. We had a different guest on, not one that we were interviewing. We were just talking with him, so it was a little bit different. But
Zach was also good to have on with us because we said it to him on there, but we get so trapped in our own baseball mind sometimes that we're just we're not regular people. We're not normal people you meet in the street. How about the Mets? Yeah, playing well. Hope they go on. I'll be like, you don't even realize Christian Scott's approaching his lefties, man.
Dude,
I can't. I'm not. Yeah.
If we're in a bar and we're watching the Mets and we hear someone talking about the Mets in a way that drives us nuts, we're like, oh my God. We got to help him. We got to help this guy. Please, we can show you the light, show you the way. We do have some reviews, though, coming in. We actually have a bunch of reviews. We have 3 new ones here.
Hell yeah.
LFG Mets'd Up. That was what he said. 5 stars from Ed Fitzy04. Longtime listener of this show, along with your doppelgangers over at Shea Station, is the best Mets podcast out there. Glad you guys got to live the dream working for the Mets, but are stoked now that you're back and better than ever. Appreciate it there, Ed. We then have one from Dom Mera, best Mets podcast out there, 5 stars. Mark and James, big fan of the pod from Binghamton, New York. Shout out to Binghamton, the Big B. You guys do a great job recapping the series as well, giving great analysis on the state of the team in the present and future. Mark, I'm going to be a freshman at the University of South Carolina in the fall. Do you make a plan? Do you plan on making any trips down this year? LFGM forever to thee. Well, Dom, if I do make a trip down, definitely will say what's up. I'm trying to, and hopefully you get one of the good dorms. Shout out Columbia Hall.
Wait, I got the last review.
Yeah, go for it.
This one's great because a good juxtaposition. That last one, this kid's 18. This one, this guy is. His name is this old man loves this podcast.
Nice, hell yeah.
If you can remember the Mets winning a World Series, you're not young. If you can remember 2, you're old. This guy's old.
Nice.
Propa. I can remember 2. I also remember talking sports all the time. My buddies Mark and James remind me of those days. I like their enthusiasm and positivity without cheerleading. I like they know their stuff and follow the prospects closely. If they would just talk more about Mets icon Ed Kranepool, they'd be perfect. Hell yeah, Propa. Thank you for that review.
Oh,
that was great.
I've got an Ed Kranepool thing for prop. I think it might be Propa, maybe. Propa? I've got an Ed Kranepool thing for you. Okay, so I was watching when I was home back in Jersey. They were showing Hank Aaron and Willie Mays talking to Bob Costas for this special that they had on HBO. It's pretty sick. And they had Bob Gibson and all the greatest players were in the stands talking about this. And they were going through Willie Mays and Hank Aaron's numbers against Bob Gibson. And as you'd imagine, not great. One of the best pitchers to ever step on the mound, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know who's in the top 10 for most hits ever against Bob Gibson? Ed Kranepool. He hit 313 lifetime against Bob Gibson, a 370 on base, nearly 800 OPS for Ed Kranepool. That's our Ed Kranepool love for the day. He owned Bob Gibson, one of the best pitchers ever.
I would get that tattooed on my body if I did that against Bob Gibson. I don't even care if it was 6 at bats.
I would literally just tattooed.
Yeah, right here in my arm. My tricep right here. 313 against Bob Gibson.
Yes.
Yeah. But also just a couple housekeeping things. Thank you guys so much for support recently. We've been charting so much better than we ever have, at least in the last couple of months. Also, we got up to number 5 of all baseball podcasts in the UK, Great Britain. So shout out our English listeners. You guys are the best. We love England in this show. Definitely some mixed feelings of late, but we definitely love England overall.
James definitely loves England.
Love England, but that was really cool to see. Also, our YouTube video we did last week, one of our best videos we've ever done. We recapped every single Mets pick in the MLB draft. So if you guys don't check on the YouTube channel, check that one out.
A little bit of a teaser for those of you who stayed along this late. Might be getting some Mets draft picks on the podcast in the upcoming week here.
Yeah, it's true. Also,
not going to mention who this because there's snakes everywhere.
Yeah, can't say. And I also might not. But we're almost at 900 total reviews between Apple and Spotify. If we get that to 1,000, we'll give you guys something cool.
Yeah, we'll do something.
We'll do a giveaway.
Yeah, of something that we should have been giving away months ago. So
some things that Mark says he's gonna give away.
Everybody tweet me, yell at me, give away this shit, and I'll do it tomorrow. But thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. You know the drill. Follow us on our social media at Mets'd Up. If you're watching us, YouTube Mets'd Up Podcast, go subscribe over there. We really do appreciate it. Listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. Drop us a rating and a review. Follow James on Twitter at
James_Sciano.
And follow me at GiraffeNeckMark with a C. Thank you guys for listening and watching. We'll catch you after the Subway series. Peace out.